Make sure to check out Jake's podcast. Just search for Blackstone Intel Report on your favorite podcast provider. Jake doesn't just entertain, he teaches. Blackstone Intel reports are often so densely packed with information that it can be hard to take it all in. If you'd like copies of Jake's Blackstone reports, become a paid subscriber of $5 or more at Substack or Patreon. The newest way you can support Jake's work is to become a Blackstone Intel channel member on YouTube. Click on the Blackstone profile picture and look for the button that says Join. You'll see different pricing options as low as $3.99 per month. This will give you access to perks, including loyalty badges and custom emojis that only members can use during live streams. Jake's live streams include segments designed for paid channel members to show off their status and use their exclusive emojis. So sign up today to become a Blackstone Intel channel member.
In a world of smokescreens, psychological warfare, and carnival barking lies in press suits, the truth is harder to find than a congressman with a conscience. It's all a bunch of damn lies. But here at Blackstone Intelligence, Jake don't chase the narrative. This crazy sumbitch dismantles it. Y'all, my boy grinds official stories up into fine powder and snorts the sweet schnitzel to fuel his fire. Are you starving for facts the global elites don't want you to hear? You got the munchies for intel you won't hear from all them war pig politicians. Well, sit back, spark up your brainstem, and prepare to inhale the intoxicating fumes of unfiltered truth. Let's get Blackstone.
Well, all right. Hello out there. Good evening to you. Let me get this fixed here. I'm going to set up here since there's only a couple people in here tonight. I got time to fix it up. How you doing out there? I see Charlie Yellowstone, Pyramid 7. Normally, when I get on here, we get about 100 people pop in real fast. I don't know if it's just because we're starting so late or what. I've been having a little trouble with YouTube tonight, so I don't know if this is going out very much, but it looks like we got about 41 people in at the moment. How you doing out there? Say hi to me out in the chat. Let me know if you're hearing me okay. Hello, good friend Mahmoud, Palestinian from the West Bank. No way. What part? Nice to see you. Hey, Silver C345, C345. Hooligan, all right. Yeah, we got a couple people starting to pop in. There's the Jenna effect. Hear you great. Hello from WNC. You'll have to tell me what part. I lived in Boone for a good many years. That's where I went to high school. My old stomping grounds. All right, from Ramallah, but you live in the U.S. Awesome. Spent about 10 days in Ramallah. Really fun place. I really enjoyed it. Jenna's in Cleveland County. Joseph Menez, interesting ring. Yeah. Yeah, everybody's like, so far, nobody in recent weeks or last month has been like, oh man, look at his Illuminati ring or whatever, because most everybody that watches, they remember what it is. I'm a big Magnum PI fan, hence the the Hawaiian shirts, and this is the Magnum PI ring. If you're a fan of the show, you know the Magnum PI ring. Anyway. Joe Who, Mountain Hours, hello everybody. All right, so listen, we have got quite a show tonight. And as you come in, hit the thumbs up. Let's see if maybe that'll boost us a little bit out there and get YouTube to send our stream out to more viewers. I have got a lot to go through tonight, and we'll see. We'll see depending on how many people are here. I know I'm getting started a lot later than a lot of people, but whatever. Some of my favorite streams that I watch are really late night streams on Twitch and whatever. And, you know, if you're an insomniac like me, and I guess if you're out there on the West Coast, it's not so bad. But anyway, oh, I said you'd mistake it for the Russian Orthodox cross. It's close. It's close, and I think it's even, yeah. And who knows? It could be that too. I don't even know. I get it from Magnum PI. So anyway, Jenna FX says she's a night owl. So here's what we're gonna do. Interesting week, interesting 2 weeks when it comes to all of this Epstein stuff, and I love that it is still in the news cycle because Donald Trump's, one of the things he learned from Roy Cohn is if you can hold out 2 weeks, you can usually beat the news cycle. Just about any scandal will pass by if you can just give it 2 weeks. And Epstein, and most everything has, even the strike on Iran passed relatively quickly. You know, that was out of the news cycle. And that was a big deal for the Trump people, but only for about 2 weeks. But this Epstein thing, it is not going away. Let me adjust this a little bit here. I'm thinking of switching over to, there's a whole lot of functionality that I have lost with XSplit. This software, you can see the branding mark up there. I used to get it, I used to pay like $60 a year or something for it. It's back before OBS was a better system, but now I just can't justify paying for it, so I'm going to switch over to OBS before too long. But anyway, I've lost a lot of the functionality I used to have. Let's see here. Let me turn off the... some of this. All right. Hey, William H. Yeah, I'll make sure and guard privacy and abide by community guidelines. Okay, sure. All right, so we're going to be talking about Jeff Epstein tonight. And let's see over here. All right, we're starting to pick up a couple more people. We're up to 63 people in the chat now, so we're starting to get some folks. I'll go ahead and get started. I'll stop my rambling now that we've got a little bit more of an audience. You know what? I'm going to turn this thing off. It's more distracting to me than it is helpful. You guys can see your own chat boxes. I was going to put it up there for the chat replay, but I don't care. All right, so Donald Trump has been in the news with this Epstein stuff, and you know, oh yeah, Scott Hare's breaking out the bong to get black stoned. Yeah. Trump is almost certainly not only a perpetrator, but also a victim of sexual blackmail schemes. And I'm going to share some information tonight with you that points us firmly in that direction. First, we're going to talk a little bit about Trump's longtime fixer, Roy Cohn. Then I'm going to share a wagon load of facts with you, a bunch of trivia about Trump's connections to Epstein that is just going to pour some more fuel on this fire. And speaking of Epstein, guess what? They finally came. The Epstein, let's see if I can get it to focus. This air freshener didn't hang itself. My shipment finally got in. No thanks to the delays due to the tariffs and everything. It slowed everything down. But anyway, I owe one of these to contest winner Mia Segarra. So Mia, if you're watching out there, you'll be getting this. These things are a little bit smaller than the typical tree air fresheners. You can see it's a little smaller. So I'm going to hold another contest tonight to give another one of these out. So anyone who donates $5 or more during this live stream, and with as few people as we've got watching tonight, I suspect it's going to be a small pool, but so your odds of winning go up. But anyone who donates $5 or more during this live stream in Super Chats will be entered into a drawing. We'll put your name on a slip of paper, and at the end of tonight's show, I'll stick your name in the jar, we'll shake it up, and you'll get one of these absolutely free, no strings attached. And by no strings attached, I mean it comes with a string, but in the little package, the string isn't attached yet, so you'll have to tie it on yourself. And but one caveat, and this I didn't know until I got these. Even though it says this air freshener didn't hang itself, it's not actually an air freshener. It's, I don't know if you can hear that. It's plastic, as opposed to these, which are kind of like whatever this material is that they can soak in the whatever the scent is. But these are plastic. Now, I'm sure you could probably put a little dab of some kind of essential oil on it if you like, to make it smell the way you want. Or if you'd really like to make this realistic as an Epstein icon, just add a drop of lavender scented massage oil to it. So get those super chats in now. You can also choose to sign up for a channel membership, which I just started last live stream. I open it up to where you can join as a channel member now. I've just put the link in there. If you become a channel member at the $5 or more level tonight during this stream, that will also enter you in for the Epstein drawing. Now, in addition to that, if you become a channel member, one of the perks that you get with that, if you're subscribed at the $5 and up level with a channel membership, you get access to exclusive Blackstone reports, some bonus videos. In fact, this morning I just put up a short video with footage and some thoughts from my 2018 visit to Jaffa, which is just south of Tel Aviv in Israel. Just a short, little bit of B-roll footage, and I wrote up some thoughts about that. But anyway, I just started the channel memberships thing this last week, so there's not a whole lot of content up yet, but I'm going to be putting up stuff every single week. So anyway, now after I complete the first half of this show, you're going to hear a train whistle. Doo-doo. And that is going to kick off a 2-minute music interlude for viewers to go sign up. I'll put the link in there. You sign up for a free Blackstone mailing list. This is my Substack list. So during those 2 minutes of music, I'll put the link in and you sign up. Now, when the 2 minutes are up, I'm going to take the list of people who signed up during this show, and I'm going to give one of you, we'll pull a name, I'll give one of you a free month of Substack membership to the Blackstone Intelligence Report. And that's where you're going to get exclusive Blackstone reports, some bonus footage, some stuff like that. So when the music starts playing, if you've ever watched on Twitch, the way people have parties on Twitch, here's some emojis. I'll call out the names of users that use emojis in an interesting way during that 2-minute segment. All right. Now, after that truth train, we're going to play a quick game of Hangman. And it's going to go way smoother this time than it did last time, which is a little bit of a disaster because I had the super slow mode on apparently, but I think I have corrected that, so we shouldn't have the delays. But we're going to play Hangman, and all you have to do if you want to participate in that, same thing. If you are someone who has made a donation during the show of $5 or more, or become a channel member, you get to participate. Anyone out there, I guess, could throw out letters, but I'm not going to pay attention to them unless you actually donated. And then you will be put in for a drawing, and we can either do that as that's that one for Hangman. We're going to do a drawing for an autographed pocket constitution. In fact, I think I've got a picture here somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Autographed pocket constitution. Again, totally free to you. All right, so I'm going to be giving away a bunch of junk, during this show. Now, after we play Hangman, we're going to go into part 2 of the show, and that is going to be I'm going to give you a whole bunch of trivia about Trump's connections to Epstein, including we're going to play somewhat related, pretty funny video or audio rather from years ago. Donald Trump pretending to be a public relations representative, trying to spread some fake news about himself to the media about what a ladies' man he is. But I'm going to add in new information about that audio and why it's so funny to me, at least. So let's get started. Roy Cohn. I think I got a picture of old Roy Cohn. There he is. This is Roy Cohn. This guy is the infamous lawyer, political fixer who mentored Donald Trump. Roy Cohn's long been rumored to have been involved in covert operations, including sexual blackmail. He's got ties to the CIA and the FBI. And so while we don't have definitive proof that he ran a CIA blackmail operation, there's still a bunch of credible sources and declassified documents that point to a pattern of behavior and connection that strongly support the possibility that Roy Cohn was involved in something very similar to what Jeff Epstein was doing. Now, Donald Trump has openly acknowledged Cohn as a significant influence in his life, a mentor, especially in his early business and legal career. So let me read you some quotes real quick from Trump to just establish this point that Cohn was a friend of his. He said in 2016 interview with the New York Times, Trump said Roy Cohn was a very tough lawyer and he was a very loyal guy. In Trump's Art of the Deal book from 1987, which was ghostwritten, of course, but here's what he said. He said, Cohn was a great guy. Roy was a very tough cookie, but you had to have him. And in the Art of the Deal, Trump credits Cohn with teaching him how to fight, how to go after the media, how to be aggressive, how to use legal threats to stifle criticism. So a lot of Trump's tactics that he uses to this day, he learned from Roy Cohn. In 1980, there was an interview that Donald Trump did with Esquire magazine. Here's what he said. He said, all I can tell you is he's been a very loyal person. He's been on many occasions a very good friend. That's because Roy Cohn's doing favors for Trump. In 2008, Trump was interviewed by a journalist named Wayne Barrett, and he said, I don't want to get into it, but I can tell you Roy was a very good friend of mine. And then in 2018, he also mentioned Roy Cohn again, over and over. Like a lot of people came out. The New York Times was working on an article in 2018, and multiple people, multiple sources in the White House said that they had heard Trump on various occasions saying, where's my Roy Cohn? Because he was frustrated because his Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, had recused himself from the Russia, trying to oversee and influence the Russia investigation. So Trump was pissed because he wanted someone who put Trump first ahead of everything else, whether it was legal or appropriate or not. So that's Roy Cohn out there. That's him. All right. Now, how did they get started? You guys may know that back in the 1970s, Donald Trump was screwing blacks out of housing, and he got sued for it by the U.S. Department of Justice. And Trump ended up, he was found guilty. He ended up paying a settlement to the black renters for discrimination. Now, the records were sealed. And Trump's never been willing to admit how much he had to pay, but it was a lot. Anyway, this is where Roy Cohn and Trump started really interacting, because Trump hired Cohn to be kind of his fixer, to help him deal with that legal problem, and then another and another and another. And Cohn worked with Trump, mostly dealing with Trump's, trying to put out Trump's fires and problems. And this continued up until Roy Cohn finally died from AIDS. He was a closeted homosexual. Although publicly Roy Cohn had always made a big deal of being anti-gay and macho and, talking about the fags and the whatever. But he was a closeted homosexual. Now, couple of years back, you don't have to go to this link if you don't want to, but I'm putting a link to the FBI's vault, where they've got over 900 pages of declassified documents on Roy Cohn. I put the link in the description there. It's not thrilling, not interesting stuff to anyone except, a wonk like me that loves digging through this kind of material. It shows a lot of court cases. They went after Cohn multiple times. He was always able to get out of trouble, though, for some reason. Kind of like Epstein. When you're connected to intelligence, even if they've got the goods on you, you get out of it. So anyway, Roy Cohn rose to national prominence during Senator Joseph McCarthy. He was McCarthy's chief counsel during the Red Scare, during all of that, chaos, and everybody's a commie, and the communists are taking over, and everybody's pointing fingers and naming names. Well, Roy Cohn became famous because he was McCarthy's chief counsel. Later on, he became a key power broker in New York, and he was connected to just notorious mafia figures. He had high-profile corporate clients. He worked with political elites, and he worked closely with Donald Trump. Now, publicly, like I said, Cohn presented himself as this hard-nosed conservative guy, this anti-communist. Privately, he was a closeted gay man, but more than that, his particular taste was for young men, kind of like former Speaker of the House Dennis Hastert. But anyway, this left Roy Cohn in a position where he was very vulnerable to blackmail in an era of rampant homophobia, and it was not, he could not afford to have dirt on him released. Today, it wouldn't be as shocking if somebody that you think is straight gets outed as gay. It's not going to have the kind of impact that it would have back in the, say, 50s or 60s and even into the 70s. So anyway, let's talk about his intelligence ties. Roy Cohn was close with journalists that were... What Roy Cohn did was he helped to shape narratives through the media, using these various sources that he had cultivated, feeding them information. This is basically Operation Mockingbird, CIA's Operation Mockingbird. So what Roy Cohn would do was he'd use his influence, his connections. He would recruit journalists, sometimes without them even realizing what they were doing, and he would filter through them CIA narratives, agency-friendly content. And so while Cohn was never named specifically as a CIA operative, it's not like he was on the payroll as a CIA agent. The fact is, his pattern of media manipulation aligns with intelligence tradecraft. Very easy. The more you know about how the CIA works, what they do, it's easy to see. A lot of parallels with Robert Maxwell and what Maxwell did, not just for the CIA, but also the Mossad. All right, another interesting connection about Roy Cohn. One of the most disturbing links comes through Craig Spence, who was a GOP lobbyist, who was exposed in the late 1980s running a call boy ring in Washington, D.C. Basically a gay escort, gay underage escort in many cases. There in Washington, D.C., providing these boys to powerful elites, including government officials. Craig Spence bragged about ties that he had to the CIA, and for some reason, he ended up dead under suspicious circumstances right before the story broke, where he was starting to talk about his involvement with this CIA operations. Funny how these people that are connected to trafficking operations suddenly end up dead before information can be released. But anyway, some researchers, including an investigative reporter named Nick Bryant, have connected Roy Cohn to these kinds of elite sex rings. In the Franklin scandal, this book, Bryant alleges that Cohn hosted parties where little boys were being provided, and I want to read some excerpts just from a couple pages here, just a handful of paragraphs. I want to share this with you. And since I'm starting in the middle of a chapter here, not all these names are going to make sense, but you'll catch up. Like George Bush, Harold Anderson moves in the upper circles of the U.S. intelligence community. The career of another Nebraskan, Robert Keith Gray, illuminates the milieu and why it would be so congenial to a person like Larry King. Larry King is the guy kind of at the center of this book. The sex trafficking ring that he was running. Gray is the chairman and CEO of Hill and Knowlton, one of the two biggest PR firms in the world, with such blue chip clients as AT&T, IBM, Xerox, and DuPont. CBS TV's 60 Minutes has called Hill and Knowlton, quote, by far the biggest and most influential public relations firm in Washington, adding that, quote, critics accuse them of being an unelected shadow government. Gray played a role in Ronald Reagan's 1976 presidential campaign, and in 1980 he was deputy director of communications, reporting directly to Bill Casey. You guys remember a couple shows ago we talked about Bill Casey on Reagan, who was CIA or OSS, and then was doing all kinds of dirty stuff related to Iran-Contra and trafficking, and how that connected to Donald Trump. Said to be Harold Anderson's, quote, closest friend in Washington, Gray is also reportedly a specialist in homosexual blackmail operations for the CIA. Gray's own sexual proclivities were the subject of an article in the July-August 1982 issue of The Deep Backgrounder, entitled Reagan Inaugural Co-Chairman Powerful Closet Homosexual. The Deep Backgrounder tabloid featured exposés of homosexual networks in Washington, D.C. Its contributing editor was a former senior CIA official. During the Watergate era, Robert Gray served on the Board of Consultants International, founded by CIA agent Edwin Wilson. Author Jim Hogan, in Secret Agenda, reported another aspect of Wilson's work for the CIA, and this is from author Jim Hogan. According to fugitive ex-CIA officer Frank Turple, CIA-directed sexual blackmailing operations were intensive in Washington at about the time of the Watergate scandal. One of those operations, Turple claims, was run by his former partner Ed Wilson. Turple explained that, quote, historically, one of Wilson's agency jobs was to subvert members of both houses of Congress by any means necessary. Certain people could be easily coerced by living out their sexual fantasy in the flesh. A remembrance of these occasions was permanently recorded via selected cameras. The technicians in charge of filming were Technical Services Division of the CIA. The unwitting porno stars advanced in their political careers, some of whom may still be in office. Gray's associate, Wilson, was apparently continuing the work of a reported collaborator of Gray from the 1950s, McCarthy Committee Counsel Roy Cohn, now dead of AIDS. According to the former head of the Vice Squad for one of America's biggest cities, quote, Cohn's job was to run the little boys. Say you had an admiral, a general, a congressman who did not want to go along with the program. Cohn's job was to set them up, then they would go along. Cohn told me that himself. Okay, so Roy Cohn was connected to sexual blackmail rings. He was helping to run, with the CIA, helping to run similar types of sexual blackmail operations like Epstein was doing. Okay? This is the guy that Donald Trump repeatedly said, from those quotes I shared with you, he was very loyal to Trump and helped him out a lot. Considered him his mentor. Okay? This is bad. This is very bad. Anyway. Former New York, Simon King, you say you're having trouble hearing? You guys let me know. I'll keep talking, but if this is too loud, if I'm clipping and the audio's bad because it sounds too loud, let me know. Former NYPD detective named Donald Schiller reportedly told journalist John DeCamp, who is the author of the Franklin cover-up, that Roy Cohn was involved in CIA sexual blackmail operations that were centered in New York. That's where compromising material was being collected on judges and politicians. And anyway, so declassified FBI files. The link I put in the chat earlier to some of the files, that's the declassified files that I'm talking about. These files confirmed that Roy Cohn was under surveillance for years due to his associations with the mafia, with organized crime figures, as well as his involvement in these compromising situations. There's one of the documents is a 1960 FBI memo, which was released. This is all released because of a FOIA request. Cohn was known to frequent parties, according to this 1960 FBI memo. He would go to parties where young men were present, and the Bureau believed that Cohn might be vulnerable to blackmail. Now remember, the CIA and the FBI, they typically do not get along. And they have kind of a love-hate relationship, mostly a hate-hate relationship. And they're often at odds with each other and busting each other's operations up. Sometimes they work together. But anyway, this utter refusal to cooperate is one of the reasons that after 9/11 they were saying, you know what, CIA knew this, FBI knew that, they wouldn't talk, so we got to have the Department of Homeland Security, and we've got to create the Office of the Director of National Intelligence so we can homogenize communication. And of course it never really happened, but just another excuse to expand federal government surveillance power over the people. But anyway, there's another document from the 80s that shows the FBI noting that Cohn's power came not just from his connections, but from his ability to collect dirt on people. So this is information in that link, you know, and I'll give it to you again here, just in case. It's not like 948 pages of material, so it's not easily searchable the way they have it set up, but it's there. So like I said, there's no public document or anything that's going to tell you, yes, he definitely was doing work for the CIA. But when you look at the circumstantial elements here, you can see he's got deep intelligence ties. He had powerful immunity in political circles. He evaded disbarment over and over again. And I was just glancing through the documents earlier tonight, and you see that over and over. They keep going after him. And he always slipped out of it, no matter how much evidence they had. Cohn had direct ties to FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, who was another closeted power broker who we now know used sexual blackmail tactics. Cohn was a key fixer in the Reagan administration's inner circle. And he's associated with people like Craig Spence, Donald Trump, both of whom have peripherally been linked to sexual blackmail stories. So all of this should raise red flags. So the allegation that I'm making that Roy Cohn was either compromised or more, at the very least, an active participant in CIA-related sexual blackmail schemes is supported by a confluence of factors. Witness testimonies, Cohn's lifestyle, his access to elites, FBI surveillance, concerns over blackmail, connections to known intelligence figures, sex scandals, all of this. So we don't have a smoking gun that shows that he was CIA. But we've got more than enough circumstantial evidence here to show that Roy Cohn was at the center of operations designed to gather compromise on powerful individuals for political control. It raises the question, why is it that Donald Trump keeps popping up connected to people running sexual blackmail schemes? Kind of crazy, right? Anyway, hold on a second. I'm going to reset my chat here because I'm not seeing any activity. There we go. Yeah, hit that like button. Hit the like button. All right, now, this is kind of what I was thinking. This is the short segment, just an introduction to Roy Cohn. This is kind of the short part of the show. And so I'm just going to take a peek over here. Now that we've got a few more people joined in, let me just tell you again what we've got going on. Let's see here. Yeah, we're up to about 144 people. So let me recap real quick. We are going to do, hopefully, a couple of games, couple of things here. I'm hoping to give away some stuff tonight. One of them, now that we've got Mia in the chat, I can show you, Mia. I don't know if you saw this earlier, if you were in here, but the Jeff Epstein, this air freshener didn't hang itself. They arrived. So I'm going to send yours out on Monday. But I'm also holding another contest tonight to give away another one. So anybody who donates $5 or more during the live stream is going to be entered into a drawing at the end of the show. I will draw a name, and you're going to receive, the winner will receive a Jeff Epstein air freshener, which actually you can't smell anything because it's plastic, but it's pretty fun. I've got one hanging from my rear view mirror. So get those super chats in. Now, the other option is you can, if you'd prefer, if you want a little more bang for your buck, you can join as a channel member tonight. And if you join at $5 or more, then that also gets you entered into the drawing. It also makes you a channel member where you're going to get access to things, well, little perks, like you get access to channel emojis or whatever that you can use in the chat, but you also get access to some of my Blackstone reports, bonus video content that is not public anywhere, and I'm also going to be making some of my archive over time available to channel members and supporters at either Patreon or Substack. So anyway, what I'm going to do is the Substack. I'm gonna do a quick Substack thing where if you sign up for my free mailing list, let me type it in the chat here real quick. Okay, blackstoneintel.substack.com. We're going to do a 2-minute interlude here, and everyone who signs up, you can sign up for free. Anyone who signs up for my my free mailing list will be eligible to participate in the Hangman game that we're getting ready to do. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me restate that. If you sign up, what's gonna happen is you can participate in the Hangman, but I'm also gonna do another drawing here in a few minutes. So let's do that real quick. Sign up there at Substack. very good. And unless I'm missing something, not a single person signed up. Now, I did see a channel member. We've got Smartass Patriot has signed up as a channel member. So thank you for that. And unless Substack just has a delay on the showing here anyone signing up, I'm not seeing anyone signing up. Free. I don't want anything free. I don't want your free stuff. All right, so I'm just going to continue then. We will go ahead. I want to share with you here in a second this audio. Let me find the file. Free beer might do it. Hey, political foolishness. Give me a second. I am going to get this audio ready. I think I forgot to load it up here. Let me find this video file. It'll probably auto start, then I'll have to pause it. Let's see here. Okay. All right, we'll do this in a second. But I love this. I love this John Miller and what else did he call himself? John Miller and John Barron was the other name that Trump gave himself. Which is funny because he ended up naming his son Barron. But anyway, I'll show you this in just a second. Donald Trump. Hey, the Jenna effect. Thank you. Jenna has become a field operative. Thank you. Thank you, Jenna effect. Okay. Yeah, so this audio, we'll play it in just a second. Let me introduce it. Donald Trump has been in the news like crazy related to this Epstein stuff. Is he in the files? Let me see. You put in the chat if you think that Donald Trump, and I don't mean just like a casual mention in the Epstein files, like, oh yeah, on such and such a day, Jeff Epstein went and had lunch with Donald Trump. I don't mean just the presence of his name. If you think that the files have something compromising one way or another, regardless of what it is, something that would implicate Trump in a bad way, say yes or no in the chat. I'd like to see what the general consensus is. And then I'm gonna share some stuff here. All right, everybody's saying yes. That's my opinion, of course, as well. I mean, I make no secret. I've been saying it for years. Hey, R Factor, thank you for that donation. Appreciate it. I've been saying it for years. Of course, Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. Now, have I seen these files? No, but I'm very familiar with the kinds of things that Donald Trump has done. I'm going to share some of this with you. And I think that you will see that it's really, if it was anyone else but Trump, if you set aside Trump, if we were to say, look, let's take the evidence about this unnamed person. We don't know his name, but let's look at all of the facts about his associations with Epstein. And you tell me, do you think that he's guilty of doing something? 90% of you would say, oh yeah, that guy's guilty as hell. So, I mean, just think about Trump's character. Very lecherous man. He's cheated on all of his wives multiple times. He has bragged for decades about how popular he is with women, and even used this John Miller name to call around to different media outlets after his divorce from Ivana to tell them that John Miller, he's pretending to be John Miller, that his boss, Donald Trump, is great with women. So I'm gonna play this, and I may go ahead and stop it some as we go through it. It's like maybe a total of 6 minutes of it. And let me know in the chat. The audio, the audio is not great, but if you can't hear it or if it's too loud, too quiet, let me know.
How are you? Good, how are you? What's your name again? John Miller. And you work with Brunel? Yes, that's correct. John Miller. What kind of comment is coming from either your agency or from Donald? But he treated his wife well, and he will treat Marla well. And, he's somebody that has a lot of options, and frankly, he gets called by everybody. He gets called by everybody in the book in terms of women. And, like who? Well, he gets called by a lot of people. Yeah. Well, what about, this Carla Brady, how important is she right now? Is she well, I think it's somebody that, she's beautiful. I saw her once quickly, and she's beautiful and all, but I think that he's got a whole open field, really. And a lot of the people that you write about, and you people do a great job, by the way, but a lot of the people that you write about really are, they call. They just call. Actresses, people that you write about just call to see if they can go out with them and things. So you can't say, did Madonna ever really call? He was so set up with that. Madonna called, and what happened, I don't know if you want to listen to this. Yeah, I do. Do you? Got zero interest in Madonna. It was literally the end. And the next day in the newspapers, they had a story that he wanted to go out with her and everything else. Besides that, she was sitting there with a boyfriend. Yeah. I think his name was Ward or something. Yeah, Tony Ward. And she was sitting there right with a boyfriend. Yeah. So, it wouldn't be appropriate. Then the next day, there was a story that Trump went to Rex and Madonna was supposedly at Rex. And that was another total nonsense story. So, somehow there was a thing. And then she called recently about this fight and wanted to go out. And, she's got this PR machine that I guess you people play too very well, but it really was nonsense. So, anyway. But I don't think we ever reported that about Madonna. Well, she called and wanted to go out with him, that I can tell you. And one of the other people that you're writing about, by the way, I'm sort of new here, and what is your position? Well, I'm sort of handling PR because he gets so much of it. Yeah. And frankly, where did you come from? I can tell you off the record, if I can I get to know you and talk a little bit off the record, I can tell you that he didn't care if he got bad PR until he got his divorce finished. So when he got a lot of bad financial stuff, he liked it because he it was good because he could get his divorce finished. Once his divorce is finished, if you notice, since then, he's doing well financially, and he's doing well in every other way. The licensing was 5-0, which is and people think, how come all of a sudden he's doing so well? And then I guess Newsday about 2 weeks ago did a story on that. So I've sort of been put in here to handle because I've never seen anybody get so many calls from the press. Where did you come from? I basically work for different firms. I work for a couple of different firms, and I'm somebody that knows. And I think somebody that he trusts and likes. So I'm going to do this a little part-time and then with my life too. What about this whole thing with that was blown up in the news, whether Marla wouldn't sign any sort of prenuptial? Did that have anything to do with the ending of the relationship? No. Was that true? Was he trying to get her to sign anything? Well, I can tell you this. Just off the record, there's no way he gets married without a prenuptial agreement. Yeah. You understand that? Yeah. It was painful, but worked in the Ivana case because, while it was, challenged, it still ended up being upheld and worked. And frankly, she got not exactly 1 penny. She didn't get 1 penny more than what the agreement called for. So that's that. And she spent a lot of money on lawyers and a lot of money on everything. And there was a year of the circus, but they do stand up. I can tell you there was never any talk of marriage from Donald's point of view. I can also say that Marla would have liked to get married, obviously, but it was just something he didn't want to do. It was just too soon. And he, hopefully he'll maintain a good relationship with Marla. What about most people, but it's just too soon. What about this Ivana thing? It says in the newsday, Trump also told friends that when he and Ivana met last week, she indicated that she'd be interested in reconciliation. Ivana wants to get back with Donald, but she does after saying on Barbara Walters. Well, what's she going to say? What's she going to say? Is she going to say when he's with somebody else and has other people lined up? Is she going to say, yes, I want to get back, I want to get back? Yeah. She's a pretty savvy woman. And she's not going to say, he's living with Marla, and he's got 3 other girlfriends, and she's not going to say, I really want to get back, she wants to get back. She's told it to a lot of her friends, and she's told it to him. But it's so highly unlikely. Is he just that's off the record. He left. It was his choice to leave. and he left. He left for Marla. He didn't leave. No, see, that's the biggest misconception in this whole thing. And this is the second question I asked about after the ring was the biggest misconception is he left. He didn't leave for Marla. He really left for himself. He didn't leave for Marla. He never left for Marla. He was going to leave anyway. Marla was there, but he was going to leave anyway. Whether there was a Marla or not, he was going to leave anyway. So now he has somebody else named Carla, who is, beautiful, and I guess you have something on her. I don't know if you do or not. But no, they won't talk about her. Can you say anything about her? I mean, she's a daughter of who? She's a very successful model, etc., etc. But again, he didn't leave Marla for her. He just wants, he does things for himself. I mean, he leaves for himself. He does things for himself. When he makes the decision, that will be a very lucky woman. But he's not going to do that until he makes the decision. When he makes the decision, he's very capable of a total commitment when he makes the decision. But he felt it's too soon. Off the record, he probably felt Marla wasn't the right one, or whatever, but he just felt it was too soon. How did he meet Carla? At the Plaza Hotel, she was doing a Carolina Herrera fashion show. When he meets the right woman, it's going to be a great relationship, and it's going to be a very, because he believes strongly in the marriage. And in all fairness, he was married for 12 years, and he was happily married for 12, for many of those years, I guess. And he believes in it, especially in this society today, I can say. But he believes in it.
Okay, so I'm going to unpack a lot of this. It just probably sounds like, oh, he's just ranting about a lot of stuff, but there's actually so much that's interesting about a lot of what he's saying. So I'm going to run through it. First of all, before I even say that, go into that, what kind of a man has to call around and tell magazines and newspapers, like, what kind of man pretends to be a PR agent and calls around just to make sure the newspapers know that he's a lady killer, and that, I mean, what kind of a douche? How insecure do you have to be? I can't fathom it. As a completely secure man, I cannot understand the depth of insecurity you have to be so crazy. I mean, a billionaire calling around pretending to be a PR representative. And you could tell the woman knows the guy's full of crap. She keeps asking him, so who are you with? Where do you come from? Who have you worked for? She knows this. She knows this is Donald Trump. She has met Donald Trump. She knows his voice. And it was kind of an inside thing with a lot of these people during this time, because Donald Trump did it a lot. But anyway, let me give you a little background on what's going on. Trump was married to Ivana, and he had an affair with Marla Maples, and he left Ivana for Marla Maples. He even went out and bought an engagement ring for her. But when he proposed, Marla Maples told him that she was not going to marry him if he insisted that she have to sign a prenup. And she broke the relationship off. And Trump was humiliated. Now, this wasn't totally public knowledge, but there was a lot of speculation around this. And Marla was out there saying her version of it. And so Trump goes into this emergency PR mode. And so the first thing that we just listened to is he tells the reporter that he didn't leave Ivana for Marla. He was going to leave Ivana anyway. Second, he said that he didn't buy this ring. Actually, I may have clipped that out. I am putting up on Patreon, Substack, and on the YouTube members. I'm going to have the full audio, because it's actually several minutes longer. He goes into more about his Madonna story and buying his ring and all this stuff. That's going to be on there for the $5 and up. But anyway, some of what he said in it is, he said, because they're like, well, what do you mean you weren't going to ask her to marry you? You bought her an engagement ring. And he explains to her that, oh, no, that wasn't, it looked like an engagement ring, but I just bought it for her just as a friendly gift. and he said that he broke off the relationship with Marla because it was just too soon after his leaving Ivana. I mean, he's so full of crap. Too soon to get married to her. He wouldn't have asked her to get married. And every woman in the world was after him. He was a super eligible bachelor, and that's why. So it's just spin mode because he was embarrassed because he left his wife for another woman, and that woman said, if you make me do a prenup, I'm not going to marry you. And she walked away, and he was like, what the? So anyway, he was a player. He was never faithful to any woman. Even when he was dating Marla Maples, he was dating other people. One of them, you saw a picture of her there, Carla Bruni, a model who was in the same circles that all of these people linked to Jeff Epstein were in, like the Jean-Luc Brunel sex trafficking ring. All right, if you don't know Jean-Luc Brunel, this is a French modeling agent, longtime friend of Epstein. He was under criminal investigation in France for sex trafficking, for raping minors. And just like Epstein, Jean-Luc Brunel died in custody. In 2022 is when he was killed, or when he committed suicide. Sorry, let me say it the right way. Brunel is the co-founder of MC2 Model Management, which operated in Paris. It operated in New York, which is why Trump was always involved with his stuff. It operated in Miami, which is where I was living as a kid. And I have to tell you, MC2 was always after me, trying to hire me as a male model, but I had to turn it down. I just was too busy. I had too many offers from other agencies. But anyway, the company was that Jean-Luc Brunel started. It was funded, at least in part, by Jeff Epstein. Epstein and Jean-Luc Brunel had this mutually exploitive relationship. Testimonies from their victims, and especially from Virginia Roberts, and you'll hear the media. Her married name was Giuffre. You'll hear them pronounce it Guffrey and all these different ways. I just refer to Virginia as Roberts, her maiden name, because everything that was going on with Epstein happened when she was Roberts. So she's always Virginia Roberts in my mind. But anyway, she testified that Brunel was supplying a lot of these underage girls to Epstein. A lot of them were foreign girls brought in. So multiple victims, not just Roberts, testified that Brunel was recruiting these underage girls, these minors, out of Europe, that they were poor, they were vulnerable, girls on the street, just very bad situations. Brought them to Epstein saying, listen, this guy Epstein is going to give you a modeling job. When really what Epstein was doing was he was first having sex with these girls, raping them, because a minor cannot give consent for sex, depending on the age. But then he was turning around and pimping these girls out in his blackmail ring. In unsealed court documents, Virginia Roberts said this. Let me find the quote. She said, Jeffrey told me that he slept with over 1,000 of Brunel's girls, and everything that he did for Jeffrey was so that Jeffrey would in turn do things for him. And that's from the Southern District of New York court filings. You can find that. So Brunel was also named repeatedly in Epstein's 2005 to 2008 Florida case. If you want to learn more about that, I go into that in great detail in my podcast series. Go to any podcast platform, look up Blackstone Intel Report. Go to my earliest episodes. The first 13 to 15 or so are about this stuff. But anyway, a lot of Brunel stuff comes out in the 2005 to 2008 Florida case. And he was never charged in that case. Brunel wasn't, because he wasn't the target. But still, the FBI looked into whether Epstein was using Brunel's modeling agency as a front for trafficking girls internationally. And he was. He was. But he got that sweetheart deal from Alex Acosta, the U.S. Prosecutor, who Donald Trump later made U.S. Secretary of Labor. And so these girls come in, and some of them were underage, some of them were just young, in their 18, 19, early 20s. And Epstein would set some of these European models up with wealthy American elites. For example, Epstein is the guy who set up, I'm chuckling just getting ready to say this. Epstein set Donald Trump up with a Norwegian model named Selena Middelfart. Yes, that is her name. Now, they dated in 1998. Donald Trump and Middelfart, they dated in 1998. Went to a bunch of these high society events together. Epstein hooked him up. Donald Trump got this girl from Jeff Epstein. They actually shared her in a way. And we know this from the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell that Virginia Roberts brought against her for defamation. We found out that there was a woman who worked for Ghislaine Maxwell. In fact, her executive assistant, her name was Kimberly Espinoza. Kimberly Espinoza gave sworn testimony, first of all, that she was the assistant to Maxwell from 1996 to 2002 in New York City. Espinoza testified that at the time Epstein and Maxwell were supposed to be romantically linked as a couple, that Epstein, on the sly, repeatedly had Espinoza send flowers to Middelfart behind the back of Maxwell. Espinoza testified that Epstein and Middelfart were a couple. She said also, among the things that this Espinoza said, was that when she was there, she witnessed personally a constant stream of minors that were flowing into Epstein's office through, that they were coming in allegedly for modeling and stuff. Now, Epstein and Middelfart's romantic relationship was between 1996 to around 1998. Obviously, they were not exclusive. Epstein hooked Trump up with her in 1998. So as soon as Epstein finishes with Middelfart, she starts dating Donald Trump. Now, isn't that weird? Was it just because Epstein considered Trump to be his best friend that they would kind of Trump would get the sloppy seconds? I don't get it. Remember, Epstein is on record saying that Trump was his best friend for over a decade. Trump is on record having said that they were close friends, that they partied together for over 15 years, and it was always a great time with Jeff. So, was Epstein just sharing an old girlfriend with Donald because they were friends? Or is it possible that Middelfart was used to get intel out of Donald for Epstein? Who knows? I tend to default to what I do know about Epstein, which is that it was his habit of introducing younger women and teenage girls to powerful men, such as when he hooked up teenage sex slave Virginia Roberts with Prince Andrew, another powerful man who can be seen together in photos with Donald Trump. Let's see here. Yeah. So there you see Donald and Melania. Then you got Prince Andrew in the middle. You got Jeff Epstein kind of in the background there. There's Ghislaine Maxwell poking her head in from the side. So anyway, this girl, Epstein's old girl, now Trump's, was actually with Trump when he met Melania. She was his date. They'd go around throughout 1998. Trump and Middelfart went to all of these highfalutin, high society events together. She was his date to Ghislaine Maxwell's Kit Kat Club party in New York City on the night that Jeff Epstein introduced Trump to a Slovenian softcore model named Melania Nos. the Epstein visa recipient who later became Trump's wife. Now, as a as a quick side note, she got this Einstein visa. These are rare that people get them. They're special visas awarded to foreign individuals who have shown like really distinct success. Usually Nobel Prize winners. That's why they call it the Einstein visa. Sometimes they give them to like Olympic gold medalists. Relatively few people got this. Now, Melania Noss, she's this uneducated young woman from Eastern Europe who was taking her clothes off and posing in lesbian photo shoots for money. We know she was doing this because we've seen the pictures. And even within that kind of seedy environment, she wasn't even a person of any significance in these modeling circles. Certainly she wasn't some kind of Nobel laureate. But the pedophile ring has always got these powerful connections in the U.S. government, and so there we go. I recall the text, and this would be a good moment to just piece some of this together. Think about what Trump wrote to Epstein in Ghislaine Maxwell's memory book that she put together for his 50th birthday. Remember, Trump drew, we haven't seen the pictures yet, but it's there for sure. We know this thing has to be real because it came from the Department of Justice, from what I understand, is that it was leaked to the Wall Street Journal. And there is zero chance, knowing how litigious Trump is and how successful he's been in getting media sites to bend the knee and pay him blackmail money, basically. Bribery money is what it amounts to. Wall Street Journal would not have gone forward with this story if they didn't have ironclad evidence that this story was real. And they did. He sued. He was threatening to sue before the story was released. He knew about it, and he was threatening to sue. So anyway, remember though what it was. This curvy. He drew this curvy silhouette of a woman. He used his Trump marker to draw his up and down silly signature that he does because he can't actually sign. He's barely literate. Scribbles in his name as the pubic hair on it, and there's this imaginary dialogue. This is what it said. And the dialogue is meant to be kind of humorous. This is his birthday note. It says, "There must be more to life than having everything." And it says, Trump, "Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is." Jeffrey, "Nor will I, since I also know what it is." Donald, "We have certain things in common, Jeffrey." Jeffrey, "Yes, we do, come to think of it." Donald, "Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that?" Jeffrey, "As a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you." Trump, "A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret." Something tells me that Donald Trump and Jeff Epstein shared a lot more than just Selena Middlefart. Did they share each other's girlfriends? This is speculation. I don't know. Someone in the chat earlier was bringing this up, but take a look at these photos here. I mean, they look really cozy. They're good friends, these four. So, I don't know. It makes one wonder. Are they just friends? I don't know. Epstein is really bumping up close behind Melania there. It seems to me this is not, I would not be that physically intimate or comfortable with another man's wife or girlfriend unless there was something weird going on. That just seems weird. Then again, something else that seems weird to me is this. I mean, who? Look at this. Look at little Ivanka sandwiched between two sex predators. Now you say, okay, Jake, come on. That's nothing. That's just a coincidence. So, listen, I want to challenge any of you Trump supporters out there within the sound of my voice to think about this. Just use some logic. Stop for a second. Please just let go of your fealty to Trump the king for a second. Imagine this is just someone else, a different situation. Look at the facts. Think about yourself for a second. I'm speaking specifically to MAGA dads out there who have daughters. You have a daughter who you love, little girl. How many of you MAGA fathers would take your little girl and have her sandwiched between you and the man who you know is having sex with minors? How many of you dads out there would do that? I think that there would be very few of you. You know, despite whatever excuses you might make for Donald Trump, I think that it's unlikely. You know, look at this. How many of you MAGA fathers out there would have your daughter in a miniskirt without a bra on and sit on your lap, have her gaze at you longingly to take a photo? Have her sit across your legs while she kisses you? Is that what normal dads do? Because that seems strange to me. If you're a Trump supporter, I'm not talking about just someone who voted for Trump because you didn't like the alternative. I mean like hardcore. I mean, you got all the merch, you got all the gear, you go to the rallies, you're really good at calling people libtards, you know, in social media. You live on Twitter, or I guess you're Truth Social now, but would you do this? Do you think this is normal? If you're, you know, if you're just a normal Republican dad, would you maybe, I don't know, have a picture where you loosen your tie, take your tie off, sit down on a bed, have your daughter remove her shoes, make sure her miniskirt is hiked up, make sure she puts her hands around you lovingly, kiss you with her eyes closed, posing while someone takes a picture of you grinning while she does it? Is that normal? Because I don't think that's normal. That seems really screwed up to me. I got another question for MAGA dads. Would you do this? Would you take your 14-year-old daughter? Forget this is Trump's daughter. Pretend this is your daughter. How many of you would take your 14-year-old girl and put her on a modeling runway where she's in her early teens, prancing up and down catwalks, literally with her bare nipple hanging out for everyone to see? I had to cover it up because it's, you know, it's like there's no mistaking what's there. Is this what normal dads do? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the crazy one. Because not only would I never support my young daughter showing off her breasts, I certainly wouldn't do like Trump and pay for her to get multiple plastic surgeries on her face as a teenage girl, and as a teenage girl pay for her to get a boob job so she can go do this kind of stuff. Does this not sicken you, MAGA? All of you Christian evangelicals out there who see this guy as the second coming of Jesus Christ, can you not look at this and just feel anything but repulsion? This is the kind of stuff that makes me feel like the hardcore Trumpers are some of the biggest hypocrites in the political world, because they talk all about sex trafficking and saving the children and all that, QAnon, save the children. And yet right in front of your eyes is some of the most sick, depraved behavior by a man toward his own daughter, and yet you turn a blind eye to it. And instead of attacking the pervert who is sexually exploiting his own daughter by sending her out to do this crap, who do you attack? You attack people like me, the messengers who are saying this kind of behavior is aberrant and it is wrong. People like me who are saying this is smoke, and where there is smoke, there is fire. Because these elite pedophile circles thrive off of exploiting young, vulnerable girls, young women, promising them incredible lives of fame and money and popularity through modeling. We know that Jeff Epstein was running a child sex trafficking ring in conjunction with these modeling agencies, like these fronts that were being operated by men like Jean-Luc Brunel. And does it surprise you at all, knowing these facts, that Donald Trump had his own modeling agency for girls? It was called T Models. T, like Trump. He founded it in 1999. And it operated all the way until he took office in 2017. That's when it finally shut down. And who did they recruit? Donald Trump's modeling service recruited females ages 14 to 17, mostly from Eastern Europe and from Brazil. Many of these models have testified that the T model, which I guess is supposed to be a play on the Model T or something. Several of these girls have testified that the modeling agency flat out taught them how to lie on their visa applications to get into America, and also told them to flat out lie to customs officials as they entered the USA, to tell them they were not here for modeling, but they were here for tourism and other stuff. That's pretty seedy. We know also that in 1996, Trump bought the Miss Universe organization, and the organization included the pageants for Miss Universe, for Miss USA, for Miss Teen USA. We've got multiple testimonies from Miss Teen USA pageant contestants that even though their dressing rooms were strictly off limits to all men, Donald Trump used to walk in on them when they were naked. These are teenage girls as young as 14 years old who are naked. And he knows their ages, and he walks in on them. There's video and audio recordings of Trump himself bragging about this. He was so proud of himself. Like he said on the Howard Stern show, you can listen to that, and he's bragging about, oh yeah, well, because I owned it, because I owned the pageant, I had to go check things out and make sure everything was in order, and so I would be able to get in backstage into the dressing rooms while these girls were changing. What kind of a freak brags about walking in on teenage girls changing clothes? It's not like this guy is in his 20s when all this is happening. Like there's maybe within a decade, within 10 years age difference. There's decades of difference in age. This is really perverse. We also know that Trump liked to chase girls with Epstein. They were BFFs from, they first started hanging out between 1987 to 1989. It's, not absolutely certain exactly when they really got going. It was between 87 to 89, and it lasted until 2005. Now, let's back up just a little bit. Going back to this audio, Trump married a foreign national named Ivana. Originally, she was born in Czechoslovakia. They got married in 1977. She didn't become a U.S. citizen until 1988, which is kind of ironic, 11 years later. Because what it means is that Trump's first three kids, Eric, Donald, and Ivanka, were born to a woman who is not even an American citizen, something that today makes MAGA voters literally sick to their stomachs and sends them into this apoplectic shock. But I digress. It's funny how attitudes toward everything changes depending on what Trump is saying in the moment. But anyway, in 1989, Trump started this affair with Marla Maples. And the affair escalated into a scandal during a family ski trip in Aspen. This is December 1989. Ivana goes and confronts Marla Maples. Big scene. And so shortly after that, Donald and Ivana got separated. That happened in like early 1990. The divorce from Ivana wasn't finalized until March 1992. It took a while because it was a nasty fight. Among other things, Ivana gave sworn testimony that Trump was sexually violent toward her. She said that she once kind of made fun of his hair. Jeff Epstein is on record with Michael Wolff, interviewing Michael Wolff, and said, "Oh yeah, he's got hair plugs. He told me he's got hair plugs." But anyway, Ivana, in the court testimony or in the deposition record, she talks about how Trump, and this is under oath, she swore this under oath, said that she had once said something about Trump's hair, and so he responded by grabbing her by her hair and pulling it so hard he was pulling her hair out of her head, holding her down while he raped her. Now, years later, after some money was exchanged, Ivana kind of softened her claim. This is after that. Originally, this stuff was not public knowledge, but after it started to come out, some money was exchanged, and she's like, "Oh yeah, really, I didn't mean literally he raped me. I just mean he was more aggressive than what I was used to." All right, but anyway, it's that kind of fighting between them that made this divorce case last so long. Okay, that was in 1992 is when, March 1992 is when the divorce was finalized. The now infamous video of Trump and Epstein laughing it up while they're out there pointing at women, calling them hot at the party in Mar-a-Lago. You know that video? Trump's got his hot pink tie on, and he's got his like monster eyebrows, and he looks weird because he's, back then he wasn't wearing the ladies' makeup yet to make his skin orange. He was, still a white guy back then. But that party was at Mar-a-Lago in November 1992. Now, technically, he's still with Marla Maples, but Trump has never been accused of being loyal to anyone, but himself at least. Anyway, so he's out there dancing with the Buffalo Bills cheerleaders, getting all sweating hot, dripping on them, out there doing that jig he does in the video. Well, 3 months after this party, Trump knocks up Marla Maples, gets her pregnant, and their daughter, Tiffany, is born out of wedlock in October 1993, which it's another funny play on the name, like John Barron, and he named his kid with Melania, named him Barron. Well, in the full audio that is going to be available of that John Miller phone call, you can hear Trump talking about how he got this ring from John Miller is talking about how Trump got the ring from the Tiffany store, which is located in one of his hotels, this engagement ring. But anyway, so Tiffany is a big deal. So Trump names his daughter with Marla Maples, names her Tiffany. And poor Tiffany, that poor girl, she's the outcast of the family. She's not really, Trump basically has nothing to do with her. He is not a fan of Tiffany, and from what people have said, it's because he thinks she's too fat. She's not fat. She's heavier than Ivanka, but she's not a fat person. But anyway, he's apparently been heard to tell her that she needs to lose weight and stuff, that he doesn't like to appear next to her on stage because she doesn't look good. That's the kind of guy Donald Trump is. He prefers for his daughters to have boob jobs and sit on his lap. But anyway, in that audio, you hear him bragging about how Donald Trump treats women so well. All right, well, this is October 1993 when Tiffany's born. Happens to be the same month that Trump molested Sports Illustrated model Stacey Williams in front of Epstein inside of Trump Tower. Epstein had come to visit Trump, and this model is there, and he's groping her, grabbing her, and she's upset about this. And this story comes from Stacey Williams herself, right? So is she lying? I don't know. Probably not. I don't think she's lying. 1993 was a huge year for the Trump-Epstein bromance. That's the year that Trump tricked this guy named George Horany, or Horany, I'm not sure how you say it. Trump tricked George Horany into organizing something called the Calendar Girls modeling competition down at Mar-a-Lago. Trump told this guy, look, bring a bunch of models, bring them because VIPs are going to be attending this. So this guy, he's a Florida businessman. He gets all these girls, dozens of these young models together. They show up at Mar-a-Lago expecting that they're going to meet all these VIPs that are going to be there who are going to maybe make connections and help advance their modeling careers. Well, it turns out there were only two people at Mar-a-Lago for this, Donald Trump and Jeff Epstein. It was a private modeling party so they could check out these chicks. Now, not only was George Horany pissed, but so was his girlfriend, the woman who later became his wife, a lady named Jill Harth. Jill said that at that private party, she was there with her husband, helping with the arrangements and everything for this modeling thing. She said that Trump forcibly kissed her, sexually assaulted her, and prevented her from leaving the party when she tried to. That's her. Again, is she lying? I don't know, but it's just strange how so many women have such similar stories. As of now, that we know of, at least 26 women have publicly accused Donald Trump of some form of sexual misconduct, including sex assault, groping, harassment, unwanted sexual advances. At least 5 of them have filed lawsuits or legal complaints, and the most famous of these lawsuits is the one where his victim, E. Jean Carroll, was awarded $89 million. And the judge in that case, even though this was a defamation case, it was a civil case, not a criminal case, probably, I think, because of the statute of limitations or something. But anyway, the judge in the case, Lewis Kaplan, a federal judge, confirmed that what Trump did is rape. He said in the January 2024 ruling, this is just a year and a half ago, said that Trump's actions amounted to rape in the, quote, common sense of the word rape, that it wasn't standard penetration, I guess you could say, because it was just his fingers, that he forced his fingers up inside of Carol against her will. But anyway, from the testimony of Ivana Trump saying that he was sexually violent all through the years with one woman after another, amounting to literally dozens of women to give very similar stories, you would kind of have to be a moron to come to the conclusion that a lot of the hardcore Trumpers do, that Trump is a Christian gentleman who treats women with dignity and respect. It's just so far from if it was Barack Obama or Joe Biden, I mean, heavens, I can't tell you the number of times I've had fun making fun of Biden, for sniffing the girl's hair. So the guy's a pervert. You can tell he's a pervert. You know that Bill Clinton's a pervert. Why is it that it's so easy for a MAGA person to recognize that Biden is a pervert, that Bill Clinton is a pervert, but they can't figure out that Donald Trump is also a sex predator? The guy is a rich snob. He gets away with crimes that normal people like me and you could never get away with because we don't have the kind of money and influence that comes with that money. Well, Trump finally got around to marrying poor old Marla Maples, poor woman. Any woman who's, having an affair with a married man, you've got to pity her. What a poor woman. Finally married her. It was a couple of months after Tiffany was born. Now, the wedding was in December 1993. And of course, who do we have photos of at the wedding? Jeff Epstein. Now, between 1993, give me a second. I hope this doesn't disconnect me. I'm going to reload my YouTube thing here. Hopefully that doesn't disconnect me from the stream. I think we're good. Yeah, I think that's all right. So from 1993 to 1997, Trump takes at least 8 flights on Epstein's private jet. And we know this. This is from the Department of Justice. They released the flight logs. Trump and Marla Maples separated in 1997. Their divorce was finalized in 1999. Of course, Trump was cheating on her the whole time. Trump was also, I've got a picture here where he is photographed with, okay, so this picture here, this is Trump with Epstein. You can see over there. They went together along with Trump's date. Went to a Victoria's Secret Angels party in 1997. So this is another instance of Trump interacting with Epstein's trafficking network. Remember, the Victoria's Secret parties were put on by the owner of Victoria's Secret, billionaire Zionist Les Wexner. Wexner is the co-founder of the Mega Group, which is that Jewish philanthropy for the uber-rich Zionists who funnel money to the Mossad. They do money laundering for Zionist operations. Wexner is the guy who took Epstein out of obscurity. Epstein was this, young guy, no college degree, no qualifications other than maybe connections to intelligence. Wexner gives Epstein power of attorney, gives him financial control over Wexner's empire. So Epstein now is getting vast amounts of money. So in 1997, here we've got Trump attending the Victoria's Secret modeling shindig with BFF Epstein, and this is connected to Les Wexner. It was around this time that, according to author Michael Wolff, Michael Wolff did about 100 hours of interviews with Epstein. Spent tons of time, over 30 visits with Epstein. He was supposed to be writing a biography for Epstein that he never did, but he got tons and tons and tons, over 100 hours of interviews with Epstein. Now, one of the things that Epstein told Michael Wolff is that Trump was trying to seduce the wives of the men that he knew. It was kind of a game. According to Epstein, Trump would get the wife on the speakerphone. Trump would be in his office. He'd get the wife of the mark, or actually the wife was the mark, but he would get the woman on the phone, unbeknownst to the husband who would come into the office, and Trump would try and get the guy to talk about his own cheating, dalliances. Surely you've done better than your wife. Who have you been with? And so the guy, might talk about, some woman he bedded or something. And from time to time, Trump would, he'd talk about the models that he was running through his agency or models he had access to and offer sex with the model to the guy. So the whole time the wife is listening in, and according to Epstein, and this could be total BS, I don't know, but according to Epstein, Trump would try to get the men to say something that would piss their wives off, to show that they were cheating. And then what Trump would do afterward is that he would go and try and console the women and basically try and get them to have revenge sex with him. That it was kind of like a sick, twisted game. True? I don't know. But I wouldn't pass Trump. Remember, this is a guy who bragged to Billy Bush in that leaked audio from their, the bus that Trump says, you can hear it in the audio. He says, yeah, I go after married women. There's this one I tried, my excuse was to take her out furniture shopping, and I moved on her like a bitch and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't make it, but, so he says sometimes he'd succeed, sometimes he wouldn't. So is this story from Epstein about Trump true? I don't know. But it certainly jives with what we have heard from Trump himself. Remember, Trump says, when you're rich, these women let you do what you want. You can grab them by the, whatever. Epstein also told Wolf how he and Trump used to go to Trump's casino in Atlantic City to hunt for women to prey on. And the game that they played together was specifically they would look for women who were with men, because the thrill of it was to get a married woman or woman in some kind of committed relationship. And Epstein said that what his role was as the wingman when it was Trump's turn is that Epstein would invite the man out to dinner under, there at the casino, take him somewhere, some pretense of business or whatever, because Epstein was always investing in different business ventures and things. And while he takes the man off for the business meeting, the business dinner, Trump would say, oh yeah, I'll take so-and-so, take the woman on a private tour of the casino. And once once he had the opportunity, he'd put the moves on her and try and seduce her. That was a game that they played. Like, these are powerful men. When you are so rich that, you've got all the money in the world, you can kind of buy up just about any woman if you offer her enough money. I guess the thrill of it is the chase, it's the competition. But anyway, these are messed up people. These are messed up people. So that's 1997. The following year, and I won't go into this because I talked about this in a recent stream, in 98, a guy named Howard Lutnick moved into the adjoining townhouse next to Epstein in Manhattan that Epstein had co-owned with Wexner. And so next door neighbor, Howard Lutnick, who is he? Well, today he's your U.S. Secretary of Commerce under the Trump administration. So yet again, Trump is taking people in the Epstein circle, putting them into power in the U.S. government. Is that normal, MAGA? If Obama did this, would you be okay with it? If Obama is the guy who was best friends with Jeff Epstein for 15 years, partying with them, sharing girlfriends and such, and Obama went and made secretaries of the U.S. government departments, took Epstein's friends and circle and lawyers and put them in charge of the U.S. government, would you think that's kosher? Because I sure as hell don't. But I'm not morally compromised because I'm not beholden to the Republican Party. Certainly not beholden to the Democrats. I think for myself. I don't let a political party tell me what to think. Something I recommend to Trump supporters to break away from this control mechanism. Party politics will rot your brain and turn you into an absolute moron. And one of the things I like most about you guys that are longtime Blackstone people is you see the same thing. You see this two-party system is a sham. You see that they get you to go along with stuff that you otherwise would never go along with because you need to be loyal to the party or to the group. You have to engage in groupthink. But anyway, there's so much that we could talk about. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to mention that it's in the news this week that Trump's news story is the reason he broke off contact with Epstein is because Jeff Epstein was stealing Trump's employees from Mar-a-Lago. Right? Have you heard this week? And Trump on I guess it was on Air Force One, he was asked specifically about Virginia Roberts, who was a 16-year-old girl working at Mar-a-Lago in the spa. She was a towel girl. Her job was to hand out towels to people as they went into the spa. This was not a big deal. Trump Trump said, yeah, she's one of the ones that Epstein took, and that's why I broke off my relationship with him. So Trump is trying to position this story that Epstein recruiting Roberts was among the reasons that Trump had to end his relationship with Epstein. Now, that's total BS, absolute BS. I'll explain why in just a second, but let me say, hit the thumbs up if you haven't done it. And I skipped over earlier doing the Hangman game because I hadn't had hardly anyone sign up on Substack to enter you in, but I think a couple of people have signed up now. But keep going. Yeah, we got 3 new subscribers from what I can see. Go to Blackstone Intel. Let me put it back in here. Okay, there's the link in the chat again. Sign up and you'll be able to play this game. Remember, anyone who makes a donation of $5 or more or becomes a channel subscriber, you will be eligible for the drawing at the end of the show of the Epstein air freshener. Okay, so Virginia Roberts. Yeah, he recruited her or took her away, and so I had to break off. Okay, this is total BS. First of all, according to Mar-a-Lago Club records, the Mar-a-Lago Club LLC, I pulled some of the financials and took a look at it. In the entire year of 2000, which is the year that Virginia was employed there, you know how much money she made? $1,866.50. That's all she got paid for working there. So this is not like some full-time, long-term employee. She was working very little and getting paid very little. Losing her to another employer was completely inconsequential. Trump would not have noticed her one bit. The only reason she was hired there was because her dad was a groundskeeper or a maintenance man working there. And she got a job there. So when Ghislaine Maxwell comes into the spa at Mar-a-Lago and gives her this opportunity to come do massages for Epstein, literally, I clocked this. I drove from Mar-a-Lago to Epstein's residence. It was right at 1.1 miles. It's torn down now. They tore down the Epstein mansion after all this crap. But 1.1 miles away, come down there, do massages. That turned sexual. She didn't know it before she got there. That had no impact whatsoever on Trump's business. At first, she continued working there at Mar-a-Lago. It's not like she's like, oh yeah, well now I've got this job, I'm leaving. She could have been replaced in a heartbeat. Not only that, but Trump continued to party with Epstein for years after this. You know that New York Magazine article where Trump says, oh yeah, he's a terrific guy. We've known each other for 15 years. He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. You know that? That was October 2002. Roberts worked at Mar-a-Lago in 2000. So at least 2 to 2.5 years have passed and Trump's still partying with Epstein. So this notion that he was pissed that Epstein took away his towel girl, and so it's just ridiculous. Going forward, it was in 2003 that Trump sent that birthday drawing to be in the Epstein 50th birthday book. Skip forward later. All of these alleged things are happening, to these girls being stolen away. Trump's not breaking it off with Epstein. Eventually in 2004, when they started having trouble, was when Trump and Epstein got into a bidding war for a Palm Beach mansion. The story basically is that both of the men bid $40 million for this mansion. It's a foreclosure in Palm Beach called the Maison de, I don't know how the French say it, de l'Amitié or something. But it's a foreclosed property. And apparently Trump snuck in another $1 million into the bid and snagged it from Epstein for $41 million, which really pissed off Epstein. But here's the thing. Trump then turned around and sold a couple years later, he sold this property to an eccentric Russian billionaire named Dmitry, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Rybolovlev or something like that. Rybolovlev. I don't know. But anyway, he sold it to him for $95 million. It was a massive profit. Now, what Epstein said to Michael Wolff in their interviews is that what pissed him off is that Trump sold him out just so Trump could help with this money laundering operation. And this is a theory that I can get on board with because I've reported extensively years ago. You guys will remember reporting that I did on Trump laundering hundreds of millions of dollars for Russian mobsters through Trump's properties in New York City. So this is right in line. What Epstein is claiming is right in line with what Trump had a history of doing already, which is laundering money for Russian mobsters through his properties. And so, in fact, Epstein said that the money that Trump put up, the $41 million, it wasn't even Trump's money. That itself was money being laundered. That it was this Russian himself who put the money up so Trump bought the property. That initial $41 million gets laundered through the sale. And then when Trump sells it directly to this guy and makes the additional, whatever it is, $50 million, that this additional $95 million gets laundered through the purchase of this property. So how much profit did Trump get for it? How much did he keep? We don't know. We can't establish for sure that this was a money laundering operation, although it's got all the hallmarks of a money laundering operation, because we don't have all the financials. Remember, Trump promised from 2015, when he was first running for president, or it wasn't his first time, but his more recent time running, he was asked over and over, and throughout the years asked over and over, when are you going to turn over your tax records? Every other major political candidate in modern history has made their taxes public so that the people of the United States can know that the guy they're voting for is not crooked, that his money is not being used to do something illegal. And Trump, to this day, despite promising over and over, oh yeah, I don't have a problem with it, I'll do it, he never has. Why has Donald Trump never made his taxes public? That's because he's a criminal. He knows that the way that mob boss Al Capone was taken down was not because the government had solid evidence of his murders and his mafia crimes. They knew about it, but they didn't have the kind of evidence that would hold up in court. But how did they get him? Tax evasion. They got him on tax issues. So Trump is never going to make his taxes public, because then the public can dig in and find out things like, oh yeah, here's what happened with that Palm Beach mansion sale. Here's what happened with this. Here's what happened with this. The fact that Trump won't make his taxes public ought to set off alarm bells to his followers, who are all about draining the swamp of corrupt officials, right? But like I said, we know how intellectually consistent hardcore Trumpers are. Rules for Biden, rules for Obama, rules for Hillary. But our guy, you just have, what is it that people have? What? TDS? Yeah, TDS. You got TDS because you're asking for Donald Trump to abide by the law and do the same basic things that all other presidential candidates are doing. How dare you? I'll tell you one more, even more damning story from Wolff's interviews with Epstein. This is something that I think is more salient to what is going on in the news today. Remember, Wolff spent nearly 100 hours at Epstein's place. Thank you, Phil. Says off topic, maybe you can answer later, but what do you think about the Trump sending nuke subs near Russia, giving those B-6112 bombs to the UK? Thank you. Yes. If I don't remember later, we'll come back to that. Thank you for the donation, brother. So Wolf is there at Epstein's place doing these interviews, mostly at his New York townhouse. He did some meetings with him in Paris, and they met at restaurants a few times, but most of it's at Epstein's New York townhouse that is located next door to Donald Trump's Secretary of Commerce, our good Mr. Lutnick. And in the course of this, Epstein says to Wolf, let me show you something. And he takes him over to one of his safes, opens it up, pulls out a stack of photos and drops them there. Now, Wolf is confirming this. This is not just like some conspiracy theory. Wolf is the author who, he did Epstein. He did a biography for Rupert Murdoch. He's written multiple books about Trump. You know, this guy's got the bona fides. He's a real journalist. So he says Epstein drops these photos down and talks him through it. And you see here pictures of Donald Trump from the days of partying and hanging out with Epstein. They are at Epstein's Palm Beach mansion, the one that eventually got torn down. They're out by the pool. Wolf said that there are a bunch of girls who are topless. And he says girls because they appear to be underage. It's possible that they're 18, but they are young. And he said it's very possible that they are underage, that they are minors. That's how young these girls are, okay? Or how young they look. But they're topless. Here's Donald Trump in a lounge chair by the pool. The girls are standing around him, giggling and pointing at his crotch because he's got a wet spot on his crotch where apparently he had ejaculated. At least that's what Wolf is saying that Epstein is telling him. Let me read you one of the quotes. He's told this story numerous times. Here's one of them. Here's Wolf's words. He said they were with Trump at Epstein's Palm Beach house, sitting around the pool with these young girls, and the young girls are topless. And in some of the pictures, they're sitting in his lap. I mean, and there's one I especially remember. There's a stain, a telltale stain on the front of Trump's pants, and the girls are pointing at him and laughing. So, you know, this is not good. Where are these photos? That's the question. All right, great story, Michael Wolf. Where are the photos? He says the photos were being kept by Epstein in the safe. He assumes that when the FBI raided Epstein's mansion not long after this, that they were taken away and that the FBI probably still has them. We just don't know what happened to these photos. But this is just one thing that Epstein had on Trump. You think that Epstein, who did stuff with Trump for years and eventually had a falling out with him, you think he doesn't have compromise on dirt on Trump after all of these things that they did together for years, going after women and other men's wives, possibly swapping partners, definitely sharing, middle fart. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So where are these photos? What else might the FBI have? We learned last week that under Trump's instructions to Attorney General Pam Bondi, the woman who passed on the opportunity as Florida AG to reopen the case, go after Epstein, we learned that about 1,000 FBI agents and DOJ personnel were reportedly tasked with identifying and flagging specifically any mentions of Trump in the Epstein files that they had, which were over 100,000 pages. Now, this week, we learned that Trump's name was found many times in these files, a lot. His name is all over in these files. This was reported to Bondi. Remember, up until this point, what is Bondi telling the public? I got the files on my desk. We're getting ready to put this stuff out. You got Kash Patel. We're going to put this stuff out. You got Bongino. We're going to put this stuff out. They flagged Trump's name. It's all over it. And suddenly, what happens to the story? Nothing to see here. Total U-turn. We're not going to release these files. Epstein committed suicide. No evidence exists that Epstein ever tried to blackmail anyone. There's no evidence whatsoever in any of these files that Epstein and Maxwell, outside of those two, nobody has ever done anything wrong. That, my friends, is the cover-up of the millennium. This is the biggest, most explosive political story in U.S. history. This dwarfs Watergate 100-fold. And it's only going to stay in the news cycle if we keep demanding transparency. Keep shaming Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, and every single person associated with this. Because Bondi, there's no hope. She's never going to see the light and do anything right unless Trump throws her under the bus and she decides to go after him. Kind of like how Elon Musk, he didn't have anything bad to say about Trump until they had a falling out. And then he was like, oh yeah, Musk is the one who was the first one to confirm that Trump's in the Epstein files. What else does Musk know? I would like to know what else he has seen or is aware of. But it's people like Dan Bongino who there is some hope of pressuring into revealing. Now, how much has he seen? He's deputy director of the FBI, which is still astoundingly ridiculous that he's in that position. But can he be pressured through guilt tripping, reminding him that he's a sellout if he doesn't reveal this stuff? Can he go public with it? Can some of these FBI agents, remember, a lot of these FBI agents and DOJ personnel that were flagging, and apparently what I heard today is that they were instructed to redact Trump's name, remove Trump's name in the files. I don't know yet if that's true, but that's what I hear circulating. Among those people, did anyone maybe sneak photos of something? There's got to be someone out there. I think that more things are going to drop as long as we keep this story alive. And it matters. It matters for so many different reasons. So many different reasons. But we got to keep the story alive. Keep the pressure on Trump. I don't care if you claim to be MAGA, but you put Trump and a pedophile like Epstein first. You're not America first. You're not. You're the kind of scumbags that you used to say you hated. You're the very thing that you used to speak out against. You've become an enabler if you continue to support this. Now, if you have listened to this show and you look at all of this evidence and you still at the end are like, there's absolutely nothing here to any of this. You are drinking the Kool-Aid, my friend. Is any of this smoking gun evidence? Absolutely not. But it is smoke, and where there is smoke, there is fire. There is enough circumstantial evidence here to make anybody, I don't care how hardcore Trump you are, if you can't look at this and say, yeah, this really needs to be investigated. We got to get these files released. We got to get to the bottom of it. And if that ends up, as much as it would break my heart that it would, take down my cult leader for the sake of the kids involved in this, yeah, let's do it. So from Roy Cohn being involved in sexual blackmail and being Trump's mentor to all these stories of Trump going after women and the stuff that he's done, his long association with Epstein, the fact that he dated Epstein's last girlfriend, that Epstein introduced Melania Trump to him. And also one of the things Epstein told Michael Wolff is that the first time Trump had sex with Melania was actually on board the Lolita Express. So how much of this is true? I don't know. But am I going to take Trump's word over Epstein's word? I mean, these are two sick, twisted, horrible, anti-Christian people. I'm not going to believe their word on anything when it comes to this. I want to see the evidence myself. I want this material put out and let me decide. I'm a frickin' voter. This is my country. I am not beholden to my government. My goddamn government is beholden to me and to you. And you, MAGA people, are letting that get flipped. And I am disgusted with you people, you traitorous sellouts. Find your scrotums, examine and see if you have any genital spherical things down there left. And if so, pull them out and start using them. Stop sucking up to this group thinking cult that you're in and start doing what is right. And I'm sorry I took the Lord's name there in vain there a second ago. Man, that made me mad. I am just so utterly furious that there's so much information here. So much information here. And we have such a large segment of today's political landscape that wants to stick its head in the sand and pretend none of this exists, and the rest of us are all dummies. None of us know anything. And they only do it because they have been brainwashed by the biggest psyop in U.S. history, largely funded by the very figures involved in the mega group surrounding Les Wexner and this Epstein thing. The tentacles of this kraken, this beast, linked to Israel, linked to the Mossad, linked to the CIA, and also pulls in the FBI. It reaches down into every facet of our American society. The republic is going to fall if we let these kinds of people continue to put their boots on our necks and shut us up and treat us like we're slaves. We must win this fight. The Epstein files must be released. And the only way that happens is we don't stop screaming about it and demanding it. Don't let that news cycle wind down, because that's all Trump has at this point, is try and run out the clock. Let this go long enough that enough people stop talking about it. And I'm not saying at all that you need to abandon the things about conservatism or even Trumpism. There's that moth that always comes in when I'm live streaming. The CIA moth is here, the little nanobot spying on me. Can't let it go. All right. That's all I have to say about that. All right, so that is all the information I'm going to do for tonight's show. Let's get to the fun part where we do some drawings. And I think, let me go ahead and answer some questions real quick from the Super Chats. Phil asked about the Trump sending nuclear subs near Russia and giving bombs to the UK. Let me address the first thing. I think that Donald Trump is a very unstable, very emotionally unstable person. And it is very frightening. Very frightening. For those that don't know what happened, so over in Russia, Vladimir Putin and a guy named Medvedev kind of flip-flopped roles to essentially to keep Putin in power this for a long time. And so the way that the Russian Constitution was written, you could only be prime minister for so long. You could only be president for so long. There were kind of term limits. And Putin got in there, and originally the power was with either the power really was with the prime minister, then the power was with the office of the presidency. And basically what they were doing is anytime that Putin would run up to the term limit, he and Medvedev would switch roles and transfer through the through the Russian parliament, transfer power away from the office that Putin had previously to the new one, and they went back and forth. So Medvedev was he was always just kind of like a toady for Putin, and eventually Putin got, he was able to get in there, consolidate power, and hold on, and he's been there to this day. Medvedev has remained in government, though largely inconsequential roles. But Medvedev's a trash talker, and so he's been talking some lately on Twitter, making statements, and he pissed Donald Trump off because the Russians keep making a very valid point, which is, you guys keep supporting Ukraine, you keep supporting NATO expansion toward Russia, and you are putting us in a position where we may have to defend ourselves with nuclear weapons. Don't put us in that position. And Medvedev saying something to that effect. Donald Trump goes and gets all high and mighty. He, like he does on Truth Social. Don't you dare talk like that. And so Trump said, basically, you know what? We're going to move some nuclear subs toward Russia. We're going to place assets, nuclear submarines, near Russia to show you that I don't like your tweet, and I may very well just have to protect America by nuking you. Now, he didn't say it in those terms, but that was the implication. Don't say stuff, Medvedev. I might just have to nuke you. When it comes to nuclear diplomacy, one does not do these kinds of things if one is stable of mind. Donald Trump talks a lot, and he gets himself backed into a corner because he doesn't like to lose face. He doesn't like to be embarrassed. And we saw that with the whole audio earlier, he's so narcissistic in a clinically psychotic way that he fakes being a PR guy to go and brag to people about how Trump, my boss Trump, can get any woman he wants. He doesn't like to lose face. He cannot stand to be humiliated. He's doing this to the point, and that's the whole 2020 election was rigged. He knows it. He knows he lost fair and square. He knows he lost, but he can't bear to lose face. So the way you make up for that is you say, well, it was rigged. I didn't actually lose. It was stolen from me, and that's not my fault. I actually did win because I'm a winner. And look at the lengths he went to try and retain power, and what he continues to this day. Don't pay attention to Epstein. Pay attention to Obama rigged the election and this kind of crazy crap. He's nuts. Donald Trump is certifiable. He's crazy. And the older he gets, the more he's sounding like he's got dementia, the more unstable he becomes. What he showed us that he did with Iran, it's easy to manipulate Trump. And he said, you've got, so many days. I'm going to give you a deadline, Iran. Agree to the deal I tell you, or you're in trouble. Well, the day came. They hadn't agreed. He had to bomb them. He had to bomb them. Not because Iran needed to be bombed, but Donald Trump didn't want to lose face. He didn't want for the world to see Iran saying, dude, whatever. And he's doing that same thing now with Russia. From the rumor mill that I'm hearing from the political circles, Donald Trump is also getting ready to release some really huge sanctions on Russia in a way that essentially is a declaration of economic war. Will he do it? I don't know. But Trump has now gotten to the point where he doesn't care about this relationship with Putin in the way that he used to. For example, or a similar thing, Donald Trump, for the first 2 or 3 years that he was in office as president, he feared Nancy Pelosi. He was terrified of her. And I used to talk about that in videos. Like, he is not going after Nancy Pelosi. For a long time he didn't, because she wielded a lot of power in Congress as Speaker of the House. He was afraid of her. And he talked about her very respectfully. Even when she would sometimes say things about him, he would not respond. It was a very rare thing for Donald Trump. Eventually, though, he got to the point where he just had to. And from then on, it's been anti-Nancy Pelosi like crazy. The same thing, from my observation, is happening with Russia. Trump has had a healthy fear, but also a strongman kind of respect for Putin for a long time now. But Putin keeps thumbing his nose at Trump, not overtly, but when Trump gives these ultimatums, I'm going to get in there in 24 hours, this war is going to be over between Russia and Ukraine. And Putin, he's like, okay, let me show you. And Trump gives an ultimatum. That day comes, and what does Putin do? Some of the biggest attacks of the war yet on Ukraine, to emphasize, you do not tell me what to do, Donald Trump. I am not intimidated by you. He doesn't go out and do like Trump and make a big deal of it. That's what Medvedev is for, but not Putin. Well, Donald Trump has gotten to the point where he's starting to flip on Putin the way that he did on Pelosi, where that long suffering that is unusual for Trump is now wearing very thin. And I think that Trump sees himself, he's gotten tired of being accused for years now of being a lapdog to Putin by the Democrats, which is not true. But that's perception, and he wants to get out from this. That's why we see Trump flipping on the whole Ukraine thing. Trumpers thought he was going to get in there and be so pro-Russia, put an end to the war. And I was trying to tell you guys, that's not how it's going to work. That's not how this works. Well, now, since he can't strong-arm Russia, now he's who was it? Was it Hegseth in the Defense Department stopped weapons shipments to Ukraine? Who restarted it? It was Donald Trump. Donald Trump is totally on board with this war. He just doesn't want to seem like it because it makes him look, like the very thing that he's been speaking out against. Well, with Trump moving nuclear subs, repositioning them, whether he's done it or not, the mere threat, he says he has, but the mere threat of it, you're threatening a country that has the power to wipe out the United States of America completely, utterly. Russia has way more nuclear missiles, warheads, than the United States. You know how how Israel was kind of unexpectedly, well, from their perspective, they did not expect Iran to be able to whoop them the way that Iran did. They didn't expect that Iran was going to be able to hit them with the missiles like they did. They totally underestimated Iran. Well, take that, multiply it by 50. That's the way that we Americans typically underestimate the nuclear capability of Russia. They may not have a standing army that is the size of the United States. But what does that matter? Unless we go invade them or they come over here and invade us, which is not going to happen because of the oceans. The way that this war would get settled is through nuclear strikes. And Russia can beat us. There's only so much we can do. That is their strength. Now, of course, it would ensure their destruction as well. But when you've got Donald Trump out there ratcheting up the tension, giving specific ultimatums. You will do this by this day. You don't want to screw around and find out, Russia, what's going to happen if you don't do what I say. He's crazy. You don't do that. Ronald Reagan never would have done something like that in his angriest moments with Gorbachev. Trump's an idiot. Could he get us all killed? Yes. Hopefully it won't come to that, but something like this, he's crazy. So it's a very frightening thing. Very frightening thing. Thank you for the donation, Phil. Joel Dalton says, Jake, I'm staying at Epstein Island next weekend. Are you able to recommend any tourist attractions? Well, there is a really nice little temple that is striped in the white and blue colors of the Israeli flag, soundproofed, and I hear there's some very interesting underground chambers there. At least that's what I've heard. I can't speak from experience, but I'll tell you who you can check with is the ghost of Stephen Hawking and ask him. So let me know how it goes. We'll see. We'll see. Thank you for the donation. Send us a postcard. Dale Ruff, thank you so much, Dale Ruff. I appreciate you, brother. All right. Now, I bash Trump all the time. Do I think that Kamala Harris would be better? Not much, but I think she might have been a little bit better on some stuff. Domestic policy, I would despise. Absolutely everything that Kamala Harris would do domestically, I would hate. Everything that she would do foreign policy-wise, I would hate. And I'm very glad she did not become president. Would she have been a little more stable than Trump? Probably. The problem with Trump is not what he says he's going to do. It's what he does that no one is expecting. Because he looks at the news cycle, sees what people are saying in the moment, and acts based on not gut instinct, but based on his insecurities. That's what makes him dangerous. I would much rather have someone who I dislike, like Mike Pence, in there, who is stable and has at least a little bit of respect for the rule of law and the rights of the American people under the U.S. Constitution. Would I vote for him? Absolutely not. Not in a million years. I don't vote for people that I don't believe are going to do the right thing. But in comparison, the thing about a character like Mike Pence is that we'd be at war with Iran probably much deeper than what Trump has done already. Because he's ruled, people like Mike Pence, these evangelical Zionists are controlled by their religious fantasies that they are part of God's mission to save Israel and all this stuff. So anyway, I don't know. It's crazy. Crazy times we're living in. I would love to get back to the age when politics is boring again. That would be my version of MAGA. MPBA. Make politics boring again. Let it go back to just being the kind of thing that nerds like me and maybe some of you would talk about because we're policy wonks that want to debate whether this tax should be 5% or 7%. That kind of stuff. That's what politics ought to be like. Not this crazy crap where we're talking about, is the U.S. government currently under the control of a pedophile ring? Is the U.S. president doing what he's doing because he's in a bunch of files by kept by a notorious child sex trafficker? Man, I would like to get back to some semblance of normalcy. And anyway, the federal government, regardless of who's in there, whether it's Clinton or Obama any of these guys. They're horrible. They're compromised. They're so deeply entrenched in this deep state bureaucracy, like they're all of their people under them. Even Reagan was not the problem. The problem was that Reagan's entire apparatus around him, from his campaign team to which are mostly the people he brought into the administration with him, they're neocons. They're war hawks. Same with George W. Bush. Probably George W. Bush is the kind of person you'd enjoy going out having a beer with, talking about baseball or whatever. But you surround him with Dick Cheney, Paul Wolfowitz, Donald Rumsfeld, all of these people who have an agenda, and he does not have the courage or intelligence to know to stand up to these people. That's the problem. And certainly Donald Trump is surrounded by people who are very evil, a lot of them. So anyway, and both parties are owned by Israel. Kamala Harris, would she have done anything for the Palestinians? No, I don't believe so. I think she would have let Netanyahu do absolutely anything he wanted. She'd keep the money flowing. She'd keep the weapons flowing. I don't think that she would be talking about engaging in ethnic cleansing to help clear Gaza out so that she could build some, Kamala Harris towers, turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East. That's a Trump thing. And that's why I think that he's worse. And I'm not going to choose the lesser of two evils by voting for Harris. And I think that a lot of independents in this last election voted for Trump thinking he was the lesser of two evils this time around. And this is the problem. We have to protest by participating to the fullest extent we can in the races where we still have a realistic chance to control our representatives, our local elections, municipal elections, county elections, state elections, state Senate, state House, our U.S. congressmen in the House, we still have some control over. Senate is pretty much gone at this point, although we have the tiniest bit of influence, but almost none. But at the top, the presidency, we have no control. It's not ours anymore. We've lost it. And that's why all of this taking the power of the presidency, the power of the executive branch, and expanding it more and more and more. If not Trump, then someone worse than Trump is going to come along and say, look at all of this power that has been consolidated under the office of the president. I'm going to use it to round up people who I don't like. I'm going to say, all right, Antifa, you are domestic terrorists. BLM, you are domestic terrorists. Pro-Palestinians, you are domestic terrorists. You people who are moderate Republicans who are anti-Israel, you are domestic terrorists. You people are domestic terrorists. This group is domestic terrorists. Let's round you all up and deport you, or stick you in FEMA camps or something. All of these crazy theories that we knew were real potentials years ago, before Trump took office. All this talk about FEMA camps all throughout Obama's presidency, we talked about that all the time. They're going to make FEMA camps. Remember all the stuff, the coffin liners that were traveling around on train cars to different locations and all of that. That's what we were afraid of. We were afraid of what our government could do to us. Rightly so. I continue to fear what our government can do to us. The problem... Oh, okay. General Buck Turgidson, let me see. He's saying here that his account is still muted. All right. I'm going to have to figure that out. Well, General Buck Turgidson, thank you for telling me. Let me look here real quick and see. This is someone that I wanted to get to the bottom of this problem with. Let me try. Let me see here. I'm going to add this to a list here and see if it'll let you. So you may have to go out and come back in and try and see if it'll let you do it. Just let me know. I'll try and watch here. Because I don't think you should be muted. I can't think of any reason why you should be muted, and I never did find any reason for it. But anyway, try it in a minute here and come back and let me know with this account if that doesn't fix it. But anyway, I don't even know what I was talking about, guys. Let me go ahead and take a look here at new channel memberships and stuff, and I'm going to start making lists so we can do drawings here in a minute. All right, first of all, I have got Smart Ass Patriot. I'm going to take you and put you in you are going in our biohazard jar. There we go. Became a channel member during this show. Let's see, who else? The Jenna Effect. Jenna, give me a second here. The Jenna Effect has become a field operative, putting you in biohazard. And I think those are the only two that have signed up today. Before I go on to check the other stuff, has anyone else signed up as a what do you call it? A channel member today? I'm not seeing any others. All right. All right, next. Okay, General Buck is saying, posted twice just now, test 1, 2, 3, message won't appear. So that won't appear on your... Yeah, I don't have you muted. Let me try one more time here. Yeah, I put you in. There's a place where I can. Let me try this. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. I'm just General Buck. I just made you a moderator. Let me remove you as a standard moderator. I was going to try and set you up as the set up your other account as a moderator to see if that would. Give me a second here. Yeah, I see your page. Everything looks good there, and I don't have you on any lists here. So bear with me. Sorry, guys. You know what? I'm gonna try again. We'll try. Maybe hang out with me a little bit. Let me come back to this. I don't want to take the everybody else's time to work on it live, but we'll come back to it a little bit later. Sorry about that, man. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's a YouTube thing or what, but I double checked. We don't have you on any kind of a banned list or anything, so I don't know what's going on there. All right. Now, as far as donations, let's see. All right, we have got Dell. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see. I'm writing all over the place. We've got Dell Ruff. And Dell, the way that I'm doing this at this point forward from this show, starting with this show, is when someone donates more than the $5, I'll put your name in multiple times. So for every $5 increment, you get an extra entry. So Dell Ruff, I'm giving you 2 entries there. Joel. Got you, Joel Dalton. You're going in the biohazard jar. Next, we have got Phil H. Phil H. And we have got R Factor made a $2 super chat donation. So R Factor, I'm gonna put your name here, R Factor, for the Hangman game in a minute. You'll get to participate in that. Now, am I missing anyone? Let me know. I'm gonna shake this jar up in a second. Hello, Flick Off. Good to see you. So here in just a minute, we are going to do a couple of things. We're going to do a short Hangman game, and then there will be a drawing here in a minute. Hey, Flick Off. Joining late, are you familiar with the plans for the Ben Gurion Canal? It explains why they don't care about destruction and what Trump meant when he said it will be for the people of the world. That is not something I know enough about right now to go into any detail about, but let me write it down. Maybe it'd make a good episode. I don't want to make a fool of myself talking about it right now. And also, Flick Off, thank you for the 20 New Zealand dollars. Nice. Flick Off, are you in New Zealand? You don't have to say if you don't want to, but I'm trying to remember. Mia asked, do YouTube moderators mute people in chats? I don't recall seeing that happen. Flickoff said, yeah, just finished milking the cows. Mia, I actually don't remember. I know that I can hide a user on the channel, but what it does is it puts people on a list, and I can look at the list and see who has been hidden, but I checked this one account here, and that person's not hidden on the account on here. So I gotta do some more work at the end of the stream and see if I can figure that out. Now that he's tested it out, it gives me a chance. Probably what I should do is, yeah, I'll have to set up a test when the stream's over. Flick Off. I'm gonna, based on your donation, that is two. Am I converting that right? I think so. I think that 20 New Zealand dollars is equal to about $11.73 based on today's exchange rate. So anyway, I got you on there twice. Thank you. Plus you're showing up as orange. So that's a bigger donation. So I got you in there. All right, so we're going to do a drawing here in just a minute. Anyone else, speak now or forever hold your peace if you have donated or are trying to donate and I've not seen it. Let me refresh this page here, make sure no new names have come in. We've got Flickoff, Dell, Joel, Phil, R Factor, and I believe that's it. All right, let's do this. All right. Got all the names in there. I need some, you know what, I need some music here. Enough of that. Let's draw a name. Oh, General Buck Turgeson. I see you switched over. Yeah, we may need to cancel you off that other one and use you on this one. You know what? I should put your name in since it billed you already for the first one, so all right, got you here. I'm gonna slip you in. I'm not gonna do the whole thing all over again. We'll shake it just a little bit. Okay, here we go. I am not looking. Tonight's winner of the Jeff Epstein air freshener is Del Ruff. Doo-doo-doo. All right, Del. I don't know if you're still out there, Del. Let me know if you're still in the chat. Mia has previously won this air freshener. This air freshener didn't hang itself. There's Dell out there. All right, so Dell, you are the lucky winner tonight of the Jeff Epstein thing. What you can do, Dell, is here's how you get it. You need to email me your address that you want it sent to. So email me at jake@blackstoneintel.com. jake@blackstoneintel.com. Remind me if the address you give me, the name and address you give me is different from your Del Ruff username, make sure you remind me that you're Del Ruff because I won't recognize you otherwise. Congratulations. Regal says that air freshener smells like lost innocence. All right, Del, congratulations, and thank you so much for that donation. Now, we are going to do a quick game of Hangman. And the Hangman game is going to be, I will give the option. So anyone who has donated is going to be part of this Hangman game if you want to be, and if you're in the chat. So I'm going to read off some names here and write these down. And you guys, if you're out there still, let me know when I read your name so that I can add you here to the game. So we're going to play Hangman. All right, Smart AP, Smartass, if you're out there, let me know. Dell, I know you are out there. General Buck, I know is out there. Flick Off is still out there. The Jenna, let me know if you're still out there, Jenna. R Factor, if you're still out there, let me know. Flick Off, I already got you. Joel D, if you're still out there. Dell, I got you. And then Phil H, if you're still out there. So if you guys can just give me like a thumbs up or a 1 or something to let me know you're still out there. All right, Joel's there, so he's good. Dell is out there. Anybody else? So I know I've got Flick Off is out there. I know Dell is out there. I know Joel is out there. R Factor is still there. Very good, R Factor. Joel is there. All right, I need Phil H, the Jenna. General Buck is still out there, I'm pretty sure. All right, R Factor, good. So I just, at this point, I don't know about Jenna, Phil H, or Smart A. All right, so I'll start. If the others pop up, I'll let you know. So this this Hangman's game, I'm going to do on a smaller board so I don't knock it over. And let me go back to my clue here so I can remember. I don't even remember which one this is. Let's see here. All right. All right, Phil is out there. Very good. All right, Phil, yeah, we're going to do Hangman if you want to play. This will give a chance to win an autographed pocket constitution, or I could possibly, we'll see. Right now it's for autographed pocket constitution. I'm just looking for where I put the name of the clue here. Hey, Mia says, hey, Jake, check out the linear smart city in Nome. The Saudis ethnically cleansed thousands of Bedouins to start the construction. I will check that out, Mia. I've heard for years about Mohammed bin Salman, trying to get funding and everything together to do this smart city. But I have not followed the developments. This is, among other things, this is supposed to be the Saudi version of kind of the New York City, the New York City / London. MBS wants to turn Nome into kind of a new world financial hub. And so it would not surprise me. I know lots of Bedouins have been driven out of a lot of places, including in Israel. But All right. Sorry, I'm taking a minute here. I think I might have. I've got it on another screen if I don't have it here in my notes. I think I might have accidentally deleted it out before the show. Dang it. Okay. That's no problem. Okay, I got it again. Okay. We are gonna. Here's how we're gonna do it. And Mia, do you want to be in the game? You made a donation, so you can be in Hangman if you want. I'm going to put you at the end. You can let me know. All right, so here we go. This is the board. How we're going to do the game is I'm going to go one person at a time in order. I'm going to call your name, and when it's your turn, you can put a letter into the chat, one letter, and if it's there, I'll put it on there. If it's not, I'll write it off to the side over here where you can see that it's been used. The clue is a CIA operation, and after you have done a letter, whether you get it right or not, whether it's there or not, you can also then immediately guess. Now, if anybody else, if it is not your turn, I'd prefer that you don't say anything, you don't guess, because you're just giving it away to the other players. It's only going to be in the order of the list that I have here. So even if you know it, zip it till it's your turn, or you're going to give it away to someone else. All right. We're going to start with Del Ruff. Del, what would be the letter that you pick? What is your first guess? Del says the letter S. And believe it or not, there is no S. Sorry about that, Del. But you can, if you have any guess at all, you're welcome to take a guess. If not, you can just say pass. All right. No S. Okay, pass. So our next person up is General Buck. General Buck, give us a letter. And up on deck next, don't speak out yet, but flick off. You're going to be up next after General Buck. Yeah, a CIA operation is the clue. Bum 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 Okay, he says O. And believe it or not, there is no O. If you have a guess, General Buck, you're welcome to do it. Otherwise, just tell us to pass. And Flick Off is going to be coming up next after General Buck lets us know if he has a guess. Oh, can't guess another letter. Like if you guess the whole word, if you know the phrase. All right, flick off. You are up. So give us a letter, flick off. It's 2 words. E was your guess. Okay. And really, I'm not even doing that. You know what? I'll do the hangman guy over here, but we're going to keep going even if he's dead. All right, sorry, no E. No E. Next up is R factor. So R factor, give us a letter. I know, it's a tough one so far. R factor says I. That was a good one. That was a good one, R factor. So R factor says pass. He does not have a guess. We're going to move on to Joel D. So Joel, give us a letter. Next time I should have some background music for us. Joel Dalton says T. There we go. So Joel, either solve or tell us to pass if you don't know that. CIA operation. Yeah, I should have something like that's on a short enough that it could be our timer too. All right, Joel says pass. Next up is Phil H. Phil, what letter do you want there, buddy? And Mia, remind me again, I think you said you didn't want to play, but I could be wrong. So Mia, you would be up next unless you tell me that you want to pass since you've got the other one. But Phil is the one currently up. Have we got a guess, Phil? Phil says P. Epstein now has 2 legs dangling. Sorry, Phil. No P. So Mia. Oh, but Phil, if you wanted to try and guess, you can. Mia would be up next. Phil says pass. Mia, did you want to play or pass? I think earlier you said pass, but and after Mia, we're going to be back to Dell in a second. So Dell, you are up. I'm not seeing a response from Mia. So Dell, you are up. You have a chance to steal it. N. All right. Based on what you know, you may be able to guess it, but it's yours to win or lose. I need to see if maybe there's I don't know if there's a way on YouTube with live chats where I can, I know that I can do just like a members only. All right, Mia says she'll pass. I know I can do a members only chat where they're the only ones that can participate in the chat. So that would be one way of keeping it down to just the participants in the game. But but then other people couldn't talk during the rest of it. So I don't want to necessarily do that. So I'll have to figure it out. All right, General Buck, I'm just waiting for Del Ruff to confirm whether or not he wants to answer or not. So Del, let's give you about 10 more seconds here. Dell says pass. All right, I think Dell is just being generous. So we are back to General Buck. General Buck, do you want to guess a letter first? Cool Mad Mike, I'll have to check out the what you're saying there. That sounds like a good idea. I also would like to do some stuff on Twitch because it's just so much fun to do live stream stuff over there. But anyway, Mia says, well, I'm completely blanking. All right, General Buck gets it. So the answer is no thanks to Justin. Yes, it was Midnight Climax. And poor Jeff Epstein, he's been saved. Poor the rest of us, Jeff Epstein has been saved from being hung. Operation Midnight Climax was a covert CIA program under MK Ultra. This is back between the 50s and the 60s. What they did was they used prostitutes to lure unsuspecting men. Hey, thank you so much, Phil. Take it easy, buddy. To lure unsuspecting men into CIA-controlled apartments in San Francisco and in New York. And they were secretly dosed with LSD, and they observed them through these two-way mirrors to watch the mind control, to watch their sexual behavior. And Roy Cohn, you know, the guy I talked about, political fixer, deep FBI and intelligence ties, he was alleged by multiple sources to have operated a parallel sexual blackmail ring involving underage boys, often for the purpose of gathering compromise on politicians and on elites. Very similar thing to what Epstein was doing. Cohn's operations weren't formally linked to Operation Midnight Climax, but it was very similar because both efforts reflected this broader intelligence strategy of using sex and drugs, no rock and roll, and surveillance to entrap these powerful individuals. So it was crazy what our own and you wonder why we're conspiracy theorists. they do this crazy crap when our own government is taking people, dosing them with LSD, watching them, subjecting them to sexually compromising activities, and we wonder, why do the people want the Epstein files released? Anyway, General Buck, so Jake at blackstoneintel.com. And by the way, if people like Whitney Webb and Craig Unger, they reported a lot on this. I haven't read Whitney's books. I'd like to. I need to get copies of them. But just watching some YouTube videos and stuff, I know that she has covered some of this stuff, especially related to, I think, some stuff with Roy Cohn. But anyway, at least regarding some of these similar blackmail operations, similar to what Epstein was doing. But General Buck, so what you do here is you email me, Jake at blackstoneintel.com. Send me your address that you want this sent to. Del Ruff says, Jake, I can pass the air freshener to the first person who makes a $20 donation tonight. Hey. Del has got quite an idea. Del, am I misunderstanding? Are you saying that you can pass the award of the air freshener on to someone else who makes a $20 donation? Am I hearing that right? So, guys, we're close to the end of the show. Del says yes. Would anybody like to make a $20 donation and get the Jeff Epstein air freshener? All right, General Buck says, can't send my address. I'll pass on the price to a winner of your choosing. Thanks so much. All right, so what you can do, and that's totally fine. People who wants to send their address to me, but that is how I get these things sent out. So instead, let me do this I'm going to do a second drawing here for the people that remain for the autographed pocket constitution. But if anyone wants the Jeff Epstein air freshener, now is the time. All right, Phil left. Phil, you're gone, aren't you? Joel, are you still out there? General Buck, R Factor, Del Ruff. Flick Off, are you still out there? The Jenna. I think most of it's like 2:30 in the morning here where I'm at. I think most people have gone to bed and they're not here. But so Del, what I will do, one thing that Twitch does, which is nice, is that users can do can pass on free memberships to other users. The proceeds go to support the channel owner, but it gives a free month membership. So Del, how about this? Because I'm not getting any takers right now. Oh, Phil says, listening with my earbud, but can't really interact. I got you. You're at work. So one thing that I can do, Del and General Buck has already got the subscription, the membership. Del, if you wanted, instead, I can give you a month of subscription to one of the three options, Substack. And for that, I would need your email address, but not a physical address. And then I can send you like a free link. But I can gift a free membership either for a month to the YouTube channel membership, the Substack report, or the Patreon. All three of them have the same basic content once you hit that $5 and up level, I'm trying to provide the same stuff on all three platforms so that people don't feel like you get something better from one place to the other. But that's an option too, is we can do that. So if you want that, you just let me know. You can email me at jake@blackstoneintel.com if you want that. Otherwise, if in the next just minute or two here before we wrap up the show, if someone else were to make a $20 donation, they will get the Epstein prize. All right, and Dell says, and I'll give you that regardless, Dell. Just email me and I'd be glad to send that to you. Thank you guys for your support tonight. I appreciate you. Crazy times, crazy stuff we're dealing with. Crazy out there. When I was a kid, into this stuff, this geopolitics and intelligence operations. Back then, when I was 13, 14, the big issue was Iran-Contra. And back then, that summer, I was not only watching the Iran-Contra hearings on TV, but I was also reading the Pentagon Papers dealing with the U.S. government's cover-up of our involvement in Vietnam. And also was doing a lot of studying about Watergate. And those things were so interesting to me. Over the years, the bureaucracy, what people refer to as the deep state, which is the combination of intelligence communities, the military-industrial complex, the entrenched bureaucracy that's there regardless of which party is in power, the bureaucracy that never leaves, the influence of the Council on Foreign Relations and other major think tanks, and then the elite investors like the people from the mega group associated with Epstein, those types of groups, NGOs. They have become much, much more embedded in the power structure in Washington, D.C. And so this notion that Republicans had when they were supporting Trump in 2016, the idea, the message was, get Trump in power and he'll drain the swamp. We'll get him in there. He'll start just messing things up left and right. And basically, we were expecting to see a version of what Elon Musk was doing. Kind of crazy, unhinged, not super careful, just slashing here and there, which really, even though I think he had good intentions, it was not it was not carried out very well. But that was the idea, was that we were going to have a massive onslaught against this deep state entrenched bureaucracy. We were going to see a reduction in the power of the intelligence services, these think tanks, and the power players. We were going to get rid of them. And instead, what we got was just the opposite. We saw the rise of really dirty, rotten, awful, corrupt crooks like a lot of the people surrounding Trump on his campaign. And that's why I was trying to tell people all along during the campaign, listen, what you're talking about is a good idea, but there is no chance in heck you're going to get it, because the way that it works is the campaign team, the close advisors, they are the people that are going to get nominated into key positions in the government. And when you can look and see that, for example, Trump's campaign chairman was Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort was him and John Podesta and Tony Podesta, they were all doing the same things, working for Russian and Ukrainian oligarchs over there for years as lobbyists. They were basically doing for Ukraine and Russia what Pam Bondi was doing for the nation of Qatar. Same kind of thing, lobbying on behalf. So I'm saying, look, we're not going to have what you think you're going to have. You're going to get something even worse. So it's not that I blame Trump supporters for having good intentions and wanting to do the right thing, because I really think that the MAGA movement had good intentions. But I think that there was a colossal, astounding shallowness to their understanding of how things really work. Because it was not hard to look at the Trump circle and see that he was bringing in his own swamp with him. And any draining of the swamp was just going to be replacing certain partisans with other partisans, that instead of being loyal to Obama, they would be loyal to Trump. And that's not draining the swamp. Really, what we need to do is dramatically shrink the size of the federal government. That can be done in a number of ways. There are agencies that can be cut. We don't need certain federal agencies, but we can cut way back on a number of things. This is what Elon Musk was, at least in theory, trying to do, but he was impeded quite a bit. And much of what he was doing, like I said, it was haphazard, and it ended up hurting people. But it can be done in an organized way. Really, it was, a lot of this goes back to Ron Paul. When Ron Paul was running for president, he kept saying a minimum of 5 U.S. departments needed to be shut down, from the Department of Education, Department of Energy, and a handful of others. Like, he really wanted to shrink things. He wanted to audit the Federal Reserve Bank and end the Fed's control of the U.S. monetary supply. There are a lot of things that were libertarian that Ron Paul had introduced into the kind of the zeitgeist of American consciousness that filtered in, and he didn't have success in getting in there. He wasn't charismatic. You know, if you know Ron Paul, the last thing you would accuse him of being is a charismatic guy. He's kind of like an old grandfatherly, sometimes in the past cantankerous curmudgeon who gripes a lot about the problems, and he educates, and he's very intelligent, but he's not charismatic. A Trump type figure is charismatic. And when you combine him with someone like Steve Bannon as an advisor, Steve Bannon, who has his finger on the pulse of what the conservative community wants, Steve Bannon is the guy who created Donald Trump as a candidate. Trump already had the charisma. He had the tenacious nature. He had the attack dog mentality and personality, but he didn't know the things to say. He didn't know what issues to talk about that would resonate with the people. Talking about the things that he wanted to were not popular. Trump tried this in 2011 and 2012. He went around, he went to CPAC, and he went to speak to Tea Party groups, and he's out there at the Tea Party rallies telling the people, yelling down at the people, saying, "Tell us about Soros," and he's, shut up about Soros, leave him alone. That was not good. So Bannon polished him, showed him what to say, and Trump went with it. He's very good, but that's the same thing they did with Trump in the WWE. He can act a role, and that's what he's doing, is he's playing a role for the America First community. So the problem, it's not that the community does not see the problems and doesn't want to fix the problems. The problem is they picked a carnival barking con artist to do it for them. They would have been much, and don't tell me that there wasn't a better candidate. Rand Paul was running against Donald Trump in 2016, and he never passed maybe 2% in the polls. The Republicans didn't want somebody like Rand Paul. He wasn't a trash talker. So this, folks, learning from our mistakes and going forward, pay more attention. The rhetoric of a demagogue is very convincing, but you can look and see who are his closest advisors. What are their backgrounds? What are they like? What are they pushing for? Are they like the Reagan team during their campaign, brimming with neocons who wanted war? Are they like the George W. Bush team, brimming with the same neocons that were in the Reagan administration, which meant we were going to get a lot worse? So that's the kind of stuff that you look for. You look and see what is the record, if there is one. The problem with Trump, or that was a benefit to him, was he had no record to run on. Don't do it anymore. Anybody can say that they want to be president. Any guy, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he can't be because he's not a natural born citizen, but someone like him. We've got all these celebrities that are talking about how they want to be president now. These people are untried, untested. They don't know how the system works. It pays to have somebody, not necessarily a career politician, but somebody who has some experience and knows how the system works, who has a record where we can see what they did. If people cared about records, they never would have elected Barack Obama, because Obama, he was only for a short time, he was a U.S. senator. But Obama emerged practically out of nowhere overnight because he was a state senator from Illinois, and he gave a speech at the Democrat nominating convention before he ran, and people liked him. He seemed articulate. He was black, which was a big plus for the Democrats, and he spoke in an eloquent, visionary way. But if you looked at his record as a state senator, it was atrocious. No, I don't know in all of Illinois state history if any state senator ever voted present more times than Obama did. That was his standard thing to do on controversial things, other than stuff like abortion. He was pro-abortion on everything and certain social issues that came up in legislation. But to avoid having a record that people could judge him on, he would vote present instead of yay or nay. So when he was running in 2008, even Hillary Clinton was pointing this out, saying, hey, look at this guy. You don't know what his values are. You don't know what he's neutral on nearly everything to avoid being controversial. So we got Obama. Basically, if the conspiracy theory is true, Obama and Hillary both paid a visit to the Bilderberg group that year, and they said, all right, Hillary, you got to back off. Obama's our guy. And Hillary was given a compensation prize. She was told, you can either run as VP on the ticket or Secretary of State. And everybody knows deep state people want control of the State Department. VP is nothing. A vice president does jack squat. In some cases, the Secretary of State is more powerful than the U.S. president if you've got kind of a tepid president in there, at least when it comes to foreign matters. So anyway, the American people, we can do better. I know they don't give us a whole lot of choices, but there are more choices early on. The key is getting behind somebody good, or not good, because none of them are good, getting behind the best that we can early on, because the good guys, the good candidates get weeded out earlier. The Rand Pauls, Ron Pauls, the ones that want to tear down the system, they're not going to get very far without major grassroots support. We in 28 and 2012, Ron Paul would have been out like that if it hadn't been for the massive, massive grassroots campaign on his behalf. The money bombs we were doing, it was electrifying. Even the other candidates running that year, not George Bush, Mitt Romney and others, they were saying, and John McCain said it in 2008, they said, look, don't like Ron Paul's policies, but there's no denying that out on the campaign trail, there was nothing even close to comparing the energy and excitement and effort of the Ron Paul people. Very energized. He got more single-payer donations than any other candidate by far. He got more donations from active duty military than any other candidate so far. And he was the one saying, stop the wars, bring the troops home. While you had the others like Giuliani and John McCain saying, no, more war. We want more war. So anyway, early on, early on. We got to get the best option that we can, even if they're not charismatic, even if they seem like geeks or can't give good speeches. If they've got the right record, the right values, they adhere to the Constitution, they respect the rights of the people, and they've got a campaign team. They've assembled around them advisors who are reasonable people, good people. That's something to do. A couple years ago, I think it was in 2016, can't remember her name, the Libertarian candidate, the nominee for Libertarian candidate for the Libertarian Party, can't remember her name right now. She was fine. Wasn't very inspiring, but she was typical small government libertarian. And I was thinking maybe I could vote for her because I've voted libertarian in the past for president. But I was waiting to see. She didn't really have any record to go on. But when she started giving speech, she was asked things like, all right, let's get down to the people that you look up to. Who would you nominate for U.S. Supreme Court? And when she said Alan Dershowitz, she lost a good 50% of the support base that she had at that time, because it showed everyone she has no idea what she's talking about. She just threw out a name because she knew it was a popular name, but she knew nothing about it. So that's what we've got to do. We've got to be discerning. We've got to really research these people. We got to put our money and efforts behind the candidates who really represent our values, not the professional wrestler versions of candidates. Those guys are fake. Trump is fake. Can't get by, and the others that are real politicians like Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz, you don't have to wonder if they mean what they're saying. They mean what they're saying. It's just that what they're saying is total bullcrap. You know, these are big government, fake conservatives. They say things, but you can look at their voting record and you just know these are not people that we're going to vote for. So it's a mess. No easy solution. But for the time being, one thing that we can do is we can challenge this pedophile ring, this system of blackmail that's being run by intelligence agencies like the Mossad, like the CIA. We can try and hold the FBI accountable for its corruption and what it does. And the number one way we do that is we keep the Jeff Epstein story alive in the news cycle. Phil H., thank you so much. Phil, first of all, Phil, let's say a big thanks to Del Ruff here, or I will. Thanks to Del Ruff on behalf of Phil, because Phil, you, if you want it, you get the Jeff Epstein thing. And like I said, it's not as big as the regular. It's smaller than a standard air freshener thing, but still it can hang from your mirror. So if you want it, email me your address to jake@blackstoneintel.com. Thank you for the donation. Phil says, volunteered for Rand in 2015. Seemed to me that Trump was installed to take away from Rand. Subsequently, after our computers were stolen in New Hampshire, the Trump campaign somehow obtained my email and began sending me spam the following week. It took me years to get off Trump's list, and I think what they did was they just pulled voter, there's voter registration lists that they do have access to, but that doesn't necessarily give them access to emails. What they would do is they'd take the voter registration rolls and then start calling from the internet with the programs, calling known or used email addresses connected with names, and they just gobbled them up. Because I know for sure I never signed up for any Trump emails. And I got them like crazy, just like probably a lot of you. Crazy. That's great that you were volunteering for Rand Paul. I've had major beefs with Rand Paul. He's certainly not his dad. The apple has fallen a little bit further from the tree than I would like to see, but on the whole, in 2016, I would have voted for Rand Paul if he had gotten the nomination. My state of North Carolina, our primary isn't until like May. So he was out before it even got to North Carolina. Typically, I end up writing in candidates during the primaries. Usually, the good ones are gone by the time it gets to North Carolina. But I would have voted for Rand in 2016. If he had run in 2020, I would have said, me and you got to sort some things out. I got to feel comfortable, because I felt like Rand Paul was trying to cater a little too much to the Trump base on some things, but that was mostly his rhetoric. I did not like that he was going out there campaigning for Trump and things like that, but still, Rand Paul is pretty doggone consistent when it comes to voting according to his principles. You know, with Rand and Ron, you always knew how they were going to vote before it came up, because you look at their principles. If it violates the Constitution, they're against it, and they will vote against it. So anyway, that's awesome. Thanks for the donation, Phil. I appreciate it. And I promise not, if you email me, I promise not to put your your email on Trump's list. Phil says, I agree, Rand is no Ron, who I also volunteered for, but it was the best we had, and I still think he would have been far greater than any other president in modern history. Absolutely. Yep, no question. He would have been a Grover Cleveland 2.0 or better, because issues are so much, have gotten so much worse in the federal government than they were in the days of Grover Cleveland. Chris says 26,000 unreported sexual assaults in the military, only 238 convictions. What did these geniuses expect when they put men and women together? Trump tweeted in 2013, but since the vast majority of something was one of 3 SA victims I am aware of on the USS Princeton in 2005, one was covered up with negligent manslaughter. Hashtag Robert Makram in the Houston Chronicle. Case closed, but Sailor D, I will never forgive myself for enlisting to be the Republicans' fool on 9/11. At least they canceled Veterans Day after. That's a lot, Chris. I know how you feel. I've told people in the past, I considered signing up for the National Guard after 9/11. Phil says Jake's email is jake@blackstoneintel.com. So, Chris, what I was going to say is I after 9/11, I considered it, not because I wanted to sign up to go fight in Iraq or whatever. Actually, no. I correct that. It was the year before. It was in 2000 that I was thinking about joining the National Guard, because at the time I was back in college, trying again to finish my college degree. And I was actually the president of the student body. I was like in my late 20s, early 30s. But I had a friend there who was also older like me, and his name was Mike. And he was the manager at our local Little Caesars. He married, had a kid. And Mike was like, hey, look, he knew I had children. They're like, look, this is so easy. Here, our local guard unit, all we do, it was transportation. All you do is you sign up for the National Guard. You got to go do 2 weeks, or I think it was 2 weeks of basic, and then 1 weekend a month, you had to go to the local guard unit. And he said they were in charge of transportation, so they just had these big trucks. He said they were kind of like firemen. They just spent the weekend cleaning up the trucks, taking them out for a drive, stuff like that. And he's like, this is so easy. There's nothing to it. You'll get tuition reimbursement for school. You'll get a kind of a stipend, not a lot of money, but you get a little bit of money for being in the National Guard. He said you're not going to get sent anywhere to war, but, we're there to support. Good night, Mia. Good to see you. Thanks so much for participating tonight. But anyway, so I thought about it. I considered it. And I was like, you know what? I know my government. I don't trust my government. I don't trust what they would do to me and how I'm not going to put my life in the hands of this government. I don't want to do it. So I didn't. And then 9/11 happened. And then not too long after that, they sent us off to Iraq. And they called up a lot of National Guard units. And one of them was our unit there up in the mountains of North Carolina. And they sent the unit over to Iraq. They were doing transportation. The job was, this was after we had overthrown Iraq. The job was pretty simple. It was to transport Halliburton employees from the places that they were staying, their temporary resident locations, out to oil fields and other places where the Halliburton employees were working. Well, Mike is driving a truck, driving some Halliburton employees to the site, and a roadside bomb went off, killed him. That was it. There went my friend Mike. And it made me think, had I joined up, would I have been sent to Iraq and gotten killed for something that was total BS? So while I admire and I understand the intent and the patriotism of people that join the military, I also have this memory of, all these things I've learned about what the government does. And so I don't trust the government. And I think that what we do to our military is atrocious. I think the way we've got our military deployed by the tens of thousands around the world is unnecessarily provocative. I think we pay our military peanuts. I think that we treat them like garbage. And so I would love to see someone like a Ron or Rand Paul get in there and start shutting down a lot of these foreign military bases, bringing our troops home, and doing better by them. But anyway, Michael says, since Trump has gone after Thomas Massie for his going against him over the Iran strike, we know Massie is one of the few in Congress we can depend on. Yeah, Massie has been pretty consistent. He has been pretty consistent. Yeah, Kentucky has got some good legislators between Massie and Paul. Yeah, when the MAGA community sees Trump going after a true conservative, a true small government politician like Thomas Massie, threatening to primary him and just trashing him, Trump's the enemy, not Massie. But really, I think the Republican Party has been co-opted by just a new breed. I think that a lot of the conservatives are gone. The real conservatives, real fiscal conservatives, I think they've become independents. They don't like what's become of the party because they're all LARPers. All these MAGA people like Laura Loomer and all these social media influencers, they're just grifters. They're just making a bunch of money off of the MAGA community. I think Trump takes advantage of the MAGA community. Anyway. Yeah, good comment. Thank you. I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Am I missing anything? I think that I did the two award things. I was going to have earlier on at the time, I was going to have my new Substack people participate in something, but I got so few, or at least there were not many. I can't read the names because these are email addresses, but for the people, looks like I've had 5 or 6 sign up as free subscribers. I'll send out some kind of message tomorrow thanking you guys for doing so. and maybe even also send out some new content, free content tomorrow on Substack. But I'll end with that. If anyone would be willing to do it, I'd love for you to sign up at Substack for my free email list. I'll just put it real quick in here. blackstoneintel.substack.com. There we go. You can hit that on your way out. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And please click the thumbs up. And I think that's it. We'll do another one of these in a couple of days. And I will try and get out in the next day or two some new articles to Substack, Patreon, and here for the YouTube channel members. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your support. And I just like hanging out with you. This is a good way of spending my Friday night. All right, folks, take it easy.